Good morning and happy Thursday. It is November 7th, 2019, and we are coming down to the final moments of our path to World Championship. SPL Phase 2, that's over, baby. It's placement week. Like I said, we are on the penultimate day. 10 teams started here, and we don't have that many left. We've got 4 matches, and of course, this is all to figure out who's going to join the top SPL teams at the World Championship. My name's Tom Badger. I am joined here by Ryan Agro Bailey. Last night was a doozy, and we're back here this morning.
Man, it's going to be fun because we get to the meat on the bone today. I mean, the nitty-gritty. We're going to eliminate some teams. We're going to qualify a team to the SMITE World Championship today. SK versus Simplicity, our third set, will be our first best of 5 of the week. And the winner of that is going to Worlds.
Should be an interesting run. First, of course, we're going to take a look at the lower side of the bracket. SK Gaming has beaten out Sanguine. That means that they're going to go head-to-head against the Freight Train. That has become Hype Unit SCL. Not a lot of people were expecting much from this console league team, but boy, have they shown up.
They really have, and I'm pumped to see them against Sanguine, a team that really relies on teamwork really, really well. I think that Obey and Hype SML, you can make arguments that specifically Obey as an SPL team might be more individually talented, but Sanguine making their name for themselves on that teamwork, I think is going to be a different dynamic for Hype Unit SCL. I think that this is the best team, not necessarily the best group of players, not saying that Sanguine's a better overall squad than Obey Alliance, but as a group of 5 people, I think Sanguine might be the toughest test in that department for SCL.
Space Station Gaming and LG, as you saw on our bracket that was up before, will also be playing today. We'll take a look at that match a little bit later. But Sanguine versus Hype Unit is how we're going to start off the day. And Sanguine is the ones in front of, as I said, that Freight Train. Ryan bringing a lot of high praise here for them. And I think there is a reason for it. When it comes down to Sanguine, this team bodied the minor league world. Unfortunately here, without their normal solo laner Hardcore, Haddix has stepped in and honestly really done his part. Off-season or during the regular season, Hardcore, when he knew he wasn't going to be able to come, was a part of this sort of training regimen and got Haddix ready. The question is he ready enough?
Yeah, that is a concern for me because yesterday I think we saw the first time that we noticed that was not Hardcore. I think that Belair really did a number on Haddix in lane yesterday. How well can he fare up against Wolves? For what it's worth, Wolves has not been the dominant force that he normally is on the console side of things. He's been good. He's been very strong in the late game team fights, but his laning phase has not been quite as good. And I think that's what I would say for every member of Hype Unit at this point. Their early game does need work, and Sanguine is not a team that will let you sit around and get your feet set. There's a team that plays up against very aggressive teams like Hype Unit SML, like Armada at the minor league level. We saw what Hype Unit SML was able to do to their console counterparts yesterday in the early game. Now, the boys still managed to pull it out, but I don't think they want to go for miraculous comeback number 3 on the week. It's time for them to get their early game in line because now it's not just, hey, this run is cool and fun and it's interesting to watch. We're really close to qualifying for the World Championships, and we got to make sure that we are ready to compete at the World Championships, not just here this week.
As I said, Haddix is stand-in. A little bit of a language barrier as well. We'll see if communication is a problem there for Sanguine. Right across from him, though, is Wolves, and Ryan really set the table here. If you haven't followed the console league, which I know a lot of players and fans honestly haven't, here's the quick and dirty. Once upon a time, Wolves was the absolute best player, no contest. Couple of players, most players in the console league, kind of caught up. He's still looked at as something special, and honestly, there's still whispers about his weird picks like Odin and such, but he plays the meta stuff and plays next to some of the stronger players in the league. He still will be a tall mountain to climb for Haddix. And look at this. These are his stats right here. 3.4 KDA, impressive. I think really if you're trying to find an Achilles heel, it's sometimes the decision-making. A lot of times he's played a lot of Jormungandr this week, and you might scratch your head sometimes when he ults kind of out of nowhere. So I think when it comes down to it, Sanguine, they need to clean up some of their late-game prowess and their communication. And Hype Unit, they've got to fix up some of their early game prowess and their decision-making overall. Welcome to the battlefield. Sanguine with the first pick and the first ban. Cirquette, We take it away, usually a support choice.
Wouldn't be surprised to see Sanguine really focus out these picks and bans against Inbowned in particular. He is the one that usually hands the ball off to Layers come late game, and that's where Hype Unit has looked really, really good. I think that Wolves still looked really solid. It's really just that Crimson and Layers have really elevated their game so far this week from an already very high point. I think those two have really stood out, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Sanguine try and shy away from them, not necessarily in picks and bans, but by taking out Hype Unit in the early game and not letting those late game hyper carries get to their comfort zones.
Bans all said and done means a first selection Jing safety is the concern here for Sanguine. Bans worth of note, the hell on the side of Hype Unit, that is directed at Sheento. He plays into the mid lane, and he doesn't afraid of anything. He is just able to kind of play as an aggressive mage as a hell.
Wow.
It's a lot of fun to see. Hype Unit, on the other hand, as far as picks, kind of get what they wanted for Christmas. Thor for Layers and Hercules for Inbound.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Sanguine's idea here, I can understand how they ended up at this point. We've seen Crimson play an awful lot of Jing Wei. They take that away from him, and they ban the things that that Hype Unit's played a good amount of in Serket, Set, and Amaterasu. But leaving the Thor open for Layers, I think, is a mistake. I think that leaving the Hercules up for Inbound is a mistake. I think that Inbound's best mechanical game all week was on that Hercules. You can tell he put a lot of time into this pick in this lead up to this tournament. I think that I wouldn't want to see him on the Hercules if I'm playing against him.
Again, if you're newer to the console league scene and you don't recognize these guys, no disrespect to Inbound, but Aurora Light is kind of an appropriate descriptor.
Yep.
It's very, very similar in play, but for what it's worth, Inbound often can be the weak link for this Hype Unit team. When teams want to take advantage, they do focus out the support. The Hercules becomes a little bit harder. Sanguine, on the other hand, I love the Thoth ban here. That is something that Crimson has gone to a number of times. It is maybe his best god, honestly. And so banning that out is a smart look. Yeah,
I like these bans in the second phase a lot for Sanguine. You're leaving Oboronic to pick Chernobog, which of course he does right away. This has been a consistent pick for him and one that he's looked pretty solid on. And now you're going to be looking for Crimson. He played Nuwa yesterday and looked awfully good on it. I wouldn't mind it against what we see on the other side. It gets away from Arthur and Xing Chen pretty well. It can delay fights very well. I think that up against an Ola run, it is a little bit of a concern because you just don't have great dive potential onto that Ola run, but I don't think anything you're picking in ADC does at this point. Maybe you could go with something like a Ho Yi and try and get those solo kills, but that doesn't seem like a great composition to me. They'd be a little bit too physical heavy in what they want to do. I think that getting some mage here for Crimson is likely the idea.
Thoth, a big part of his god pool, obviously banned out. Number of options
All
there.
The
Sanguine, on the other hand, going to the Hera. Hera has been a choice that a lot of the players like. Late game prowess, sure. Her early game is not that great, but the start that players have been going has kind of hidden some of that a little bit.
She doesn't hit players super hard in the early game, but her minion clear is phenomenal if she's allowed to step up to the wave. That Royal Assault plus Polymorph combo will start clearing archers at level 3 or 4. So you get a good amount of lane pressure with Hera. I think she's a strong pick. She's kind of fallen off a little bit this week, but I'm not surprised to see her here for Sheento.
And the Nuwa hovered one more time. Like we said, it worked out last time. A lot of question marks when she was selected. Don't get us wrong. We weren't sitting here going, well, Nuwa carry, that's it. Zatman was smart 7 months ago. But that said, she could be the choice. You know, it's really funny. We are accustomed to seeing odd mages in that long lane now. But it was interesting. It was players like Emilito and Zatman that started with the Nuwa carry for some reason. Not that. We're going to go to the Andenster special, the Scylla carry here.
I think it's a little bit worse than Nuwa, honestly, in this composition because there's very little setup here for Crimson, and there's not gods that he can easily just hit over the wall with an I'm a Monster. I mean, there's mobility on the other side. Everyone has some sort of mobility on Sanguine. Even for Hera and Pele, they've got extra movement speed, which can throw off your calculation on those blind hits of I'm a Monster and Sikkim. I'm a little bit worried about it. I think that the Nuwa buys so much more time against things like Xing Chen, King Arthur, and Pele than Scylla does. Unless you're hugging a wall and can get over it with that Sentinel, this game is going to be a lot on what Crimson and Oboronic can do. How well can they withstand this onslaught that Ronngyu, Haddix, and Panitom are going to throw their way? But anytime I see Layers on Thor, I feel like Hype Unit's got a really good shot.
I got to agree there. Layers on the Thor has been very successful. And watching Oboronic and Crimson, not just in-game, but out-of-game, they were talking in the post-game interview saying how their number one concern, obviously, is dealing damage to the backliners, but they are always cognizant of peeling for each other. That's a big part of what this team does. And Chernobog and Scylla have some tools to do that for each other, so there is a positive there. On the side of Sanguine, though, we look at King Arthur for Haddix. It's a comfort selection for him. And Ronngyu has arguably been the superstar here at LAN, overshining what we usually look at with Sheento, most notably. But Ronngyu has been super fantastic, super aggressive, and Xing Chen, I've said it a number of times, I think is one of the go-to aggressive support options.
That being said, there's not a lot of gods that he can easily pick up here. I mean, Chernobog can get away from you pretty easily by just dashing into a wall. Jormungandr can't be hit by the 2 or the ultimate with the most important parts, which are the knock-up or the grab. Hercules has the ultimate, so as long as Inbound saving that, then you could see that, though Inbound very aggressive with
Doubtful.
that ultimate might end up getting picked up. This is one where, depending on how Ronngyu is able to pressure the early game, I think is going to determine quite a bit for Sanguine. I'm just really looking at this Netrioid versus Crimson matchup. I think that's where this one ends.
It's going to be a big one. Sanguine representing Latin America and Hype Unit representing the console scene. Let's jump into game number 1.
Thanks so much, F.Aggro on the desk. 6 teams start today, and by the end of it, we'll be left with 3. Wait, who's on the cast with me?
What is that picture they put
What
up
is
there?
that picture? That's a great picture. I'm not against it. Yes, you're going to get a very special EU Power Hour this morning. The best news is, Zeros, these are all North Americans, which means there's no bias. We can say what we want. This is great.
You're right about that. A lot of people have been asking me as well, like, why are you only on the desk? Why are you not casting? And I'm here today to show why.
Oh, we show why you're not on the cast?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm really looking forward to this one then. So early games, have a quick look at the map. Look at the amount of wards early on from Sanguine, just covering both the left and the right-hand side. They're really focusing on potential aggression points at the beginning, or just trying to get vision of where Hype Unit are going to go. Does Hype Unit have a good comp in this early game for pressure?
Yeah, they do. I think they have the comp they want. They have Inbound on the Hercules. We've seen he really likes his early game support, right? So let's see what he gets up to here. But just mention about the wards too. 4 wards coming out for Sanguine in the early game. That's a lot of gold invested in
It
wards.
is really. I mean, 50 gold per ward. So who ends up like footing the bill for most of those wards? Is it mainly the support that has to just deal with that, or is it a shared experience?
I think this definitely not the mid laner, because the mid laner with this build, they're going with rank 2 boots and Lost Artifact, only have 50 gold to spare, so it's usually the support solo laner.
Sheento! Baby, you're in trouble there, Oboronic! Just whittled down his health bar, and one quick inbound driving strike off a blink gets him first blood. And now the red buff could be looked at here. Great little start.
Oh, that's terrible for Sanguine. That's what Inbound want to do on this Hercules. That's why he's been banned away from him so much. Like, this early game Hercules, so strong in this early game.
Red buff taken, everyone level 2. Bar in Inbound here from Hype Unit. The pressure's still on towards Ronngyu now, who's sat at level 1. And with a furious roar, he'll fall. It's one of the always awkward things of taking that level 1 Furious Roar as well, is you just don't have any escapability.
Yeah, you can start with your jump, obviously you're free on Xing Tian, but not that good early game, like for securing buffs and that stuff which you want to do, but terrible early game for Sanguine.
Yeah, it's really starting to put the pressure on him. This is kind of what I expected coming in today, up against Hype Unit, who, in my eyes, they play a little bit like SK in the early game. Very aggressive, look for the invades consistently, and look to put the pressure to you.
I would kind of tell them they're more like Splice in a way. I feel like Inbound has like the same kind of god pull as Aurora in a way.
Okay.
Like, I think it's been mentioned a lot that he's like a mini Aurora kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. Aggressive support side of North America is a thing that's gone on as the seasons progress. The old days, it used to be all Europeans that were seen as the more aggressive ones, but now it's Sanguine going to be on the back foot for a while. Nothing really up in the jungle for invasion purposes, although the speed buff is spawning for Sanguine soon. And just look at the army of men just heading over there to get in position for a fight.
This is such a bad position for Sanguine to be in. Like, you have drafted the Hera here as well, which really aren't good at fighting early game. You kind of want to free farm, right? And now so many people have died already, so this is going to be really tough for Sanguine in the early game.
Well, okay, they just get the babies at the speed buff and have to fall back because the rotations are coming through. Haddix's pressure there just relieved a little bit of pain for Sanguine for a second or two and allowed them to just re-secure some of their jungle camps. So a little bit of a window for Sanguine to catch up. Obviously, Zeros, there's always a lot of talk about the early game pressure, so important. But just lately, we've seen these games just go so long. What's the reason for that?
I don't know, like, I think a lot of the games this tournament that has gone long probably shouldn't have. I feel like there's been a lot of throws and people have been struggling sieging. I don't know if that comes with inexperience when it comes to late game sieging, but it is pretty hard to siege, especially if you're against a good defensive comp with these long range mages, right? So I think the early game aggression that we see in this tournament definitely has been good, but I think teams have kind of failed to utilize the pressure they've gone with it.
We're talking about experience lead for now. The gold is up about 600, and the experience, well, you can see the numbers at the bottom of your screen there. A little bit of a lead for Haddix in that solo lane, who's had a bit of an easier time, as Wolves has just had to farm up on that Jormungandr for now. But everybody else on the side of Hype Unit is doing a very good job. Even those left-hand Harpies will go the way of Hype Unit as they look to control these middle camps. Round the back comes Layers. Nice wall onto Sheento. But the shield will come into play to prevent some of this damage.
Oh.
And then Inbound with a beautiful Earthbreaker. And the beads is used. And I love the patience out of him not to use that driving strike. 3 kills now for Hype Unit. And I don't think we're going to see Bobby get this Hercules anymore.
Yeah, looks really good on it. That's such a terrible death for Hera as well. She loses her beads there too, so she's... Whenever she respawns and comes back to mid, they're going to look for her again.
And so there's more pressure on, and this is why Ronngyu is going to try and hold this wave just to try and help out with experience a little bit more. So he does come at a deficit for himself, as he's going to have to share a little bit more. But at the same time, he's got to get this Hera to level 5, because that's when she can really start to shine, when Argus is online.
But I think as soon as this 4 hits level 5, if he gets one dunk on this Hera in mid that has no mobility to get away from the dunk ramp, pretty easy dunk to secure, she's just insta-dead without the beads.
Yeah, we're just waiting on that window then for Layers to hit 5, because like you said, with the beads being down for another 2 minutes roughly, we'll see what happens there. Speed buff is spawning, and Sheento starting this one up, sharing the experience with Panitom. Sanguine on the back foot for now. Even Inbound getting very aggressive on this left-hand side, looking to place deep wards near those back Harpies just for vision. Ronngyu just going to hold the mid wave for now. I'm looking through the builds to see if there's anything unusual coming through here. It's pretty standard for the most part. Sheento escapes that Earthbreaker. Gladiator Shield online for Haddix. That's kind of normal as well.
Yeah. Kind of interesting though to see junglers. You see Pele here has gone Talaria boots over Warrior Tab, and then 4 has Warrior Tab. Kind of interesting to see. I'm not really sure what's the reasoning behind. Some junglers still decide to go Talaria boots. They got nerfed pretty heavily a while back.
They did.
But some junglers really seem to like them still. I'm not sure if because of the MP5 or if the extra movement speed is what the deal is.
It could be a bit of a combination of the both, maybe, because the speed buff got nerfed in terms of how speedy you got from that at one point. So Talaria gives you that, and the MP5 is always going to come into play. Red buff invade coming out from Hype Unit yet again here now. These two teams, both of them with a shot at going to the World Championship still, and a great spot for them to be in, as Layers helps to try and secure this buff. Won't be the case. Inbound's driving strike is down, as is his life, but Layers is in the sky, as is Oboronic, and Layers dunks on Sheento to find the kill. The wall on Panitom slows him down, and luckily enough, Oboronic got in the wall for safety, but now on the escape, Ronngyu with Mana could give chase, but the peel away from Crimson and Layers is going to be good enough. On top of that, Netrioid was just out of Mana to continue that one.
Yeah, you see there, Hera has no beats. She got 4 dunks and she's just insta-dead. Luckily enough, she has beats up in 10 seconds. She should be safe the next time that happens, but 0-3 on this Hera already is looking kind of rough.
Yeah, gonna be a bad situation. How do you play the mid lane when you're this far down? Is it really just stay as safe as you can and farm?
Yeah, it's super hard, especially on Hera, right? Because Wolves taking some damage. He's fine. Especially on Hera, right? Because like she has no mobility, she has kind of short range to clear creep waves as well, so she has to play so far back. And if you have to play that far back, it's hard to rotate into the jungle and get the jungle XP after you clear the waves as well. So I don't know, it's really tough.
Really tough situation then for the time being. You can see Wolves on that right hand side got pressured, as Zeros was saying, but he does have that Jade Emperor's crown, which we've seen so much of as this season's gone on. I think it's a bit of a closet sleeper item, that one.
It's not sleeper anymore, I'd say.
No, anymore.
We see even hunters or mages in dual lane pick it up now. So I feel like when you have Warrior Blessing and Jade Emperors, I think this is like the immortal stage of a Jormungandr solo. I think he can get 3-man ganked and he won't die.
Yeah, we do see a lot of the Stone of Bindings come into play from these solo lane Yorms as well.
Yeah. Because
it gives both protections, but not only that, that aura that just increases damage done. Layers under pressure here.
Yeah, Stone of Binding is such a good item on Jorm, because he procs on his, he slows, his passive pools slows, right? So anyone who steps in the pools just get that Stone of Binding proc, and like he drops pools when he ults as well, so like he literally applies that to pretty much everyone.
You know, for 1 second, Zeros, I was like, how does he know so much about Jormungandr? And then I realized that you played it for like a long period in the mid lane.
Yeah, one of our favorite golds to play actually. So much fun to play. Only if you go full damage. Tank Jorm, not fun.
Why is he fun to play?
Just you out, like you can't get target where you're killing people and they can't kill you.
Well, Haddix is getting killed right about now and they can't kill him. He will buy a bit of time with the ultimate onto Layers, but the inevitable is going to happen. At that moment, you'd hope your team could look for a Gold Fury, but I think Sanguine are just happy that they're not being focused so they can farm up.
Yeah, I think King Arthur probably wish he could have built Jade Emperors there as well.
Yeah, these Magicals having a bit of a benefit there. It is funny because we've seen a lot of the Guardians move away this year from being in that solo lane. Pressures have been a lot more important. And that's mainly, I feel, down to this Totem of Coup, which we don't really talk about too much, but it does come into play.
Yeah, Totem of Coup is huge early game, especially if you play mid. It's like my favorite thing to get that buff, so...
Inbound! What are you doing there? Panitom just ran him down. Great little rotation out of Netrioid as well.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen that from Inbound quite a bit this tournament, where like he gets off to a good start, and then like after that, like at like the 8-minute mark or whatever, I feel like he overextends a bit and tends to get picked up a bit too much.
That could come into the fact of you're playing Hercules, you're having a good game, and you're not as tanky as you think you are. Or have the cooldowns as Netrioid gets aggressive on Crimson for a second. More of a damage check than anything else there, and Crimson going to respect that, head back to base. He is working on that Doom Orb here in this lane. We've seen a lot of these Doom Orbs as the season has gone on. It's been the new go-to for everybody. The mobility definitely a part of that, as Haddix will just about secure his own blue.
Yeah. As you talked about Doom Orb, just such a good item right now. It kind of fills the same position as Book of Thoth used to do, right? Like you want a power item as a mage, and Doom Orb is that item, and you don't need to stack it as you do with Book of Thoth, so it's a lot faster power curve. On top of that, you also get the movement speed, which is so good for a carry mage.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think one of the reasons we started seeing that Doom Orb so much was initially Morrigan, but Inbound knocked up a couple of times here, driving strikes Netrioid into danger, the border double taps off the wall, but Netrioid is fine. Layers in the sky, but Inbound won't be alive much longer. Netrioid will clean up one, and Ronngyu is going to fall for a double. Panitom and Sheento have to get away as Crimson was finally there on that rotation. And the red buff is stolen.
Yeah, 2 for 2 though, I'd say that's a good trade for Sanguine, right?
Oh yeah.
At this point, they're behind, and Hera didn't die this time as well, so she needs to catch up. On the other hand, Chernobog died, right? So like, Hera gets to catch up now. Really good for Sanguine, I think.
It's really that point in the season where if you're behind, you've got to learn to be able to play from behind and get a way back into it. Especially at this stage where there's spots on the line for the World Championships, but Layers on this rotation. He's looking to take out Haddix, he's trying to buy as much time as possible, but the damage is done. Can Wolves sneak away? Panitom, I don't think he could find him, but instead he may be able to find Layers. The trade did not work out well as Wolves spits on him. Didn't see the rotation back in, so 9-4. And we're approaching about 2,000 gold lead here.
Pele misses her knock up there, like bad play there, and like get punished for it. Could possibly have been a double kill if she played that better, so that's definitely a misstep from Panitom.
So with that, as I said, about 2k gold lead at the moment. No Gold Fury is taken just yet. Inbound at level 7, still matching that of Ronngyu. And Rongyu's had a tough start to this one, mainly because the rest of his team have fallen. And he's had to give up some experience, but at least he's still matching pace with the Hercules. It's one of the things you hope to have happen.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like he shouldn't, though. I feel like this kind of pretty much from Inbound for like overstepping and dying in this early game. If he just could play a little bit more passive, because he gave them a really good lead with the first couple of kills they got, but then he overstayed, and now the Xing Tian has catched up to him.
Layers 4-0-4 in less than 12 minutes in on Thor as well, of all things. It's not a bad situation to be in. It's kind of what you're hoping for on the start of the day when you come into the games.
Yeah, like Thor's so strong in this meta too, and like, yeah, look, one double tap, half out. Oh,
you're getting aggressive. Layers going to be a bit worried about that, so will ult, but now the overextension from Sanguine could be punished. Panitom trying to find an escape route and gets knocked back by Panitom. Sorry, not back onto Panitom and falls down, but not only that, we also saw Sheento end up falling down there too. Great plays out of hype units. Now they rotate to this left-hand side again to strip away that red buff.
So much pressure coming out from a hype unit here, like invading so many red buffs. This time gets 2 for 0 and a red buff. This is like a disaster for Sanguine almost.
And now the purple going down. Gold Fury could be on the cards here. Hype unit setting up nicely. Inbound on zone duty. Netrioid is level 12, has his secondary relic online, but I don't think he can get into the fray. This could be all be on Ronngyu, who used a blink in the last engagement. Ultimate available, but is against a crush, and that's not an easy thing to try and get away from. After the fact, the driving strike hits, as does the I'm a Monster from Crimson. 12-4 then, and the gold lead extends again.
This is looking pretty rough for Sanguine here. Again, losing Gold Fury and losing a member when you're already this far behind. This is going to be so hard for them to come back in. I feel like this Layers on this 4 now. He's played so good this tournament as well, right? It's going to be hard. I feel like whoever he decides to kill here, he's going to kill pretty much.
I mean, we discussed about the fact that, you know, Inbowned on his Hercules, it really is Hype Unit kind of got a lot of their comfort picks, I would say, going into the spot. Sanguine, meanwhile, about the same. I think they're happy with their draft, but maybe they just need to make adjustments. I don't know if you can afford to ban Hercules and Thor and leave other things open, though.
Yeah, I think they have to target one of them. I think it's best to target Inbound, right? Because I feel like Layers, we've seen many different playstyle from him. He played Thor, he played Set. I feel like he's more flexible, but with Inbound, it seems like he really want to play this early game support, right? So
yeah,
I think Circuit and Hercules should probably get banned out against Inbound.
Aggressive gods is what you're looking for then. Panitom trying to get the blue buff. His Hype Unit look to extend their lead at the Pyromancer there. Good work on these neutral objectives so far. When does it get awkward, though? Because sometimes you can get a decent lead, right? But then what ends up... Oh, wait a second. Still more pressure on Sheento. I thought oBoronic was going to go all the way in there. But sometimes when we talk about, you know, you get a lead, there's nothing up on the map to take anymore, and then you can end up overextending sometimes.
Yeah, sure, but it's also kind of easy, because now Pyromancer is down, Gold Fury is down. They can just pressure every lane now, and they can play around. There's still the buff spawning every second minute, right? So they're going to go for this. They're probably going to go for purple after this as well, but let's see what happens there.
Pretty little lead from Ronngyu there, and Inbound under pressure, but Layers is there for backup. Sheento will at least kill Inbound, but Ronngyu and himself may end up falling down, or at least Panitom will. Great pick again for Hype Unit. At the cost of Inbound's life, this red buff still under pressure. Netrioid getting aggressive, trying to turn it around on Crimson though, and the Aegis has been used. Crimson can't sense it all away in time, but Wolves has arrived, and Haddix is in so much trouble. Caught between the wall and a wormy place. Netrioid and Sheento can only watch on here and just try to push back Hype Unit from their half of the map.
Another 2 for 3 for Hype Unit, so still a good fight. Beautiful cripple there from King Arthur. Scylla couldn't use her to get away there because he got crippled by Arthur, so beautiful play.
See, you're not bad at this casting stuff. You catch things I don't. That's great. 5,500 damage there you can see for Hype Unit. The golden experience difference. Well, you see the experience was higher for Sanguine, and that's because some of these players are a little bit higher level. Yeah. Some shutdown bonuses could come into play eventually, but that's only when Layers ends up falling down, I'd say, at this point. Wolves now on this rotation to the right-hand side. He's already taken that tier 1 tower on the right.
Look at this lead of 7,000 XP and 6,000 gold at 15 minutes. That's a big lead.
Okay, once upon a time, right? Back in the early days, we used to always have this thing of like, if you get a 10k lead at this mark, the game's over, right? What is it in Season 6?
I mean, I don't think there's anything, because we've seen so many games. We've seen 15,000 goal leads at 17 minutes with the Fire Giant on top of that, and we've seen teams lose with that. So I think that margin is gone, I think.
I think yesterday we saw 2 teams, or at least this week we've seen 2 teams lose with a 20,000 gold lead. Now, we're hoping, for Sanguine's point of view, that they can try and battle back and take this one a little bit later, because if we get to the late game, their composition has the ability to shine. Specifically with Jing Wei, because she has had a fantastic tournament this run.
Such a great hyper carry late game. You can go crit on her, you don't have to go, you can build anything on her. She's doing really well. 4-1-1 is pretty impressive. Looking at how this game has gone so far, she's kind of the one holding the line now, I feel like.
Well, no surprise to see Inbound now trying to pay a bit of attention to this lane, as is the whole of Hype Unit. Look at this Armada on the way over now. Layers in the jungle, but there's a couple of wards down that may have given a bit of vision, along as Ronngyu and Netrioid there. Wolves, though, just been a distraction in mid lane. That is a giant polymorph. Wolves will use his ult, but all the while this is going on, left-hand side is being sieged.
That's when you know you're far behind, when there's that Jormungandr proxying in front of your Phoenix, but you both towers the mid is still up.
Layers dunks in, didn't find the stun, but the war was better, and he will use the double tap to secure as Inbound tries to get a kill. Not today, Bobby. Tier 1 tower will now fall down, as the console boys are continuing on their path to glory here.
Super dominant performance so far, so impressive from these guys. I cannot believe that a console team is doing this to SML and SPL teams.
Yeah, they're really showing their ability right now. And take into account, I mean, these guys had to play on Sunday in the console championship first of all. So they played an additional day more than any other team here. And yet, to get to Worlds, because they went to the losers bracket, they're going to have to play tomorrow too.
Yeah, I think the momentum shows here though. Hype Unit comes out, they won both the last sets 2-0. They come up from a 4-0, while Sanguine got 2-0 yesterday, so that maybe it's Sanguine's a bit demoralized, while Hype Unit, I feel have all the momentum in the world right now.
That's a good point. They're definitely feeling it right now as oBoronic gets hit by that Nice polymorph out of Sheento. Nicely timed. Not an easy ability to land at that range.
Yeah, long range. Actually, I don't know. I feel like I hit a lot of polymorphs long range. I don't know what it is. I feel like
The short ones?
Yeah, I feel like it comes so slow towards people, so I feel like people walk into it sometimes. I don't know.
You're just good at those long range shots, you know? You play a lot of Thoth. Panitom gonna play a lot of time in the base right now, as that's gonna be his 4th death of the game. Respawn for 30 seconds as Haddix has rotated over here. The Fury has respawned, Layers in the sky, but a good ult out from Sheento to try and push back Oboronic. Layers low will punish him for his indiscretions with a double tap, and he's live. And Inbound still frontlining again, tanking this up. Armor Monster's available for Crimson, but he just waited to show off the cog symbol, you know. Tier 1 in mid falls down then as they rotate to the right-hand side. This could be a fire giant call.
This 4 is 11-0 at 18 minutes. What a player, Layers. Like, this tournament, what a performance from him. As what is going on there?
This is the time to shine. Root out from Crimson connects with Ronngyu as he gets juggled around and destroyed. You can't jump around when you're crippled, as Haddix ends up falling down to Oboronic. It's now on Netrioid, who's 4-1-1. Both relics up, ultimate available. But look at how much damage he's doing to Wolves. Not a whole ton with those crits right now. Layers lands a wall again, shocking! And that'll force out an airstrike from Netrioid. Next on the list is Panitom to fall. And once again, Hype Unit can head back towards the Fire Giant area. At first I thought they might just have to relinquish the FG and go for Pyro, but Bobby! They got it!
How does it... Oh wait, was it the Chernobog ult that gave him vision?
I think he had a rough vision, but the Chernobog was there as well, yeah.
Because Chernobog ult gives vision, so that's why we saw where it's back. That's just a nice play.
Fire Giant then gonna go the way of Hype Unit. And we're having fun on the gas because Hype Unit are having fun in the game here. Less than 20 minutes in, and they're really taking it to it because these two teams, Zeros on paper, they've both been underestimated for a while. Oboronic will end up jumping in the wall, getting away from the danger of the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel. What an ultimate name. Argus will now limp back away. Yeah, so a little look back at that Chernobog play real quick, just so you can see what vision Bobby had in that scenario, because it was a nice little combination from Hype Unit there. So look. So Bobby walks on in.
Yeah, this is really utilizing the Chernobog ult as well. You see the clone is out there, he has vision on him, and just that easy boulder over the wall. It kind of looked like it was going to miss it. That was kind of on the edge. But
listen, those pinata balls look a lot bigger. They hit a lot bigger than you actually think they will. So with the Fire Giant on all 5 members of Hype Unit, they're going to give red buff to Oboronic and now head over towards the Oni Fury. And this is just more punishment because the Oni Furies cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, for sure. It's like perfect timing to get it as well. It's like kind of RNG when you get it, but like if you get Fire Giant, then you get Oni on this right after. So easy to siege now, right? Because like, where do they defend? They have to defend 5 members coming down this lane, and there's going to be only waves in the other lane. So
now you can see what Sanguine are trying to do. Just farm up wherever they can. Netrioid is trying to hit level 20 as quick as possible. He will get a tier 1 tower on the right hand side. But this has been a countermeasure we've seen quite a lot from teams trying to defend by pushing out the waves.
Yeah, for sure. But then again, the only waves are the waves going through the tier 1 towers.
Inbound taking a ton of damage after that driving strike blink engagement didn't really work out. But Layers is there for another kill. Netrioid will fall, and that's a big name taken down. Panitom still trying to get to the back and find a kill on Crimson, but it won't be enough to survive. He ends up falling too. Sheento next on the left for a bit of damage out from Wolves, but the Aegis prevents it. But that's another relic consumed.
Not too bad of a defense on Sanguine so far. They're down 2-1, but like pretty short respawn timers on them, so they might be able to defend this.
Let's see if they can go again, because no real ultimates available. Oboronic and Crimson actually do still have ultimates up. If they want to go for an Armor Monster play off a wall from Layers, could be an option. There is the wall that'll get the beads out of Sheento, but Rongyu's peel is good, and Layers has to beat away from the ultimate. But talking about ultimates, Crimson lands a lovely Armor Monster. It's not enough for a kill as it was the tanky frontliners in the face, but it will push them back far enough to get the Phoenix.
Unfortunately, Sheento misses the Argus there. If he gets the connect on the Argus, they might get a kill and they might be able to defend the Phoenix, but misses, so just unfortunate, but it's so hard to defend. They're so far behind at this point. And look, the only waves had already got to tier 2 mid.
Yep, tier 2 down in mid lane. And all that work that you saw Netrioid do getting that pressure on the right hand side has all come all the way back. 15,000 gold then. 17,000 experience. We are in the territory where you're like, if you make a mistake at this point, you have thrown the game if Hype Unit lose this.
Like, I feel like for Sanguine to win this, they have to rely on Hype Unit to make a mistake. They have the left Phoenix now as well, which is the good Phoenix. They're gonna get next fire for free pretty much. It's so hard to defend fire when you have the left Phoenix down, right? So someone has to be defending that. Defending 4v5 a Fire Giant when you're this far behind already, almost impossible.
Gotta give credit where it's due. Well, here we go. Big plays because the overextension from Sanguine could be punished here. Who's going to be the isolated man? It's going to be Haddix, who has to surrender his life. How much time can he buy is the real question. Not enough is the answer. As once again, Hype Unit marching on through this lower bracket at the moment. This is a best of 3 though, so there's always a chance for Sanguine to turn this around in game 2.
Kind of weird they don't decide to push there. Like King Arthur's dead for 50 seconds. They still have 4-man Fire Giant, although the Fire Giant buff is falling off soon, but they could easily have got to tier 2 in right lane at least.
Wolves though doesn't want to give anything up. Look at him, he's over on this left hand side trying to prevent him getting a tier 1 tower. It's only worth 500 gold, Wolves. You can give him some scraps, you know? Give him some crumbs somewhere. Now on the right hand side though, you can see Sanguine Hype Unit going to pressure a little bit with Oboronic on that Chernobog alongside Crimson on the Scylla. The beginning of the game though, I think that first blood that came out with Inbound combining with Oboronic onto Sheento, it was just the beginning of the end almost.
Yeah, it's just like, it's so hard to play against this Hercules. It's hard early pressure support. If they get going early game as well, even if they don't get kills early game, they're hard to play against early game. But if they do get kills, even 2 kills in this game, it's just so hard to deal with.
So Sanguine just going to try and farm up where they can, sending Netrioid to deal with the 5 minions on the left-hand side. Hype Unit will take a breather for a second as they wait for the Fire Giant to spawn in 25 seconds time. But Ronngyu just trying to farm up a little bit in mid lane. He's the worst casualty of war in all this, as he's only poor old level 13 at this point. His opposition is 5 levels above him in that Hercules.
Yeah, like this Xing Tian as well. He has like 2.5 item and like. Look at his Phoebes, that he has 30, what is it, 33?
34? They're going up! They're going
up, I guess, yeah. But still, not even fully stacked Phoebes at 25 minutes. It's a pretty rough position to be.
I'm pretty sure you've been on teams with trick stacking like that before, right? I've casted a few games.
A couple of times, maybe, yeah.
Scrims only? Fire Giant going to go down then for Hype Unit. And for a second, a few of them were going to base Layers, and so will Inbound. This should be the beginning of the end here. If these bases are coming through, this is final items and go.
Yeah, this should be game, this Fire Giant. Although, if Sanguine managed to defend there, I think they have a way for a comeback. Because if they fail to defend there, they're gonna get the full build pretty soon, right?
Yeah.
But unless, I don't know, I feel like Hype Unit has to screw up pretty badly to not be able to siege and end the game here.
Well, let's see if they do. Sheento does have Argus available, and that's going to be a big play if he can land a good ultimate there. Mainly onto the carries, if anything else. The frontliners will easily be able to tank that one up at this stage. And I'm looking at Netrioid on that Jing way as well, with a bit of hope in my heart. He's got a bit of crit online now, which is going to be impactful. And we saw the benefits of a Jingwei passive before.
Yeah, sure, but I just look at his 4 and look at his build. He has a Hydras now as well. He has so much power. Heartseeker, Hydras. If he gets to touch any of the carries, even the jungler Panitom, they will just die instantly.
Even wards being cleared out in the jungle there just to prevent some vision. That's a good spot where Wolves is for a potential Thor ultimate to come through. But speaking of Thor, he's on the left-hand side, just going to bring in this minion wave one more time as that Phoenix has respawned. So a 4-1 split. Best way to try and beat the team here.
This is really smart. Like, who's going to one-on-one this for? You get walled into double tap, then blinks their hammer, 1 auto and starts spinning. I'm pretty sure that's enough to kill anyone. Especially, I don't think this Pele can defend this. I think this is a poor choice.
There's also a fire minion wave too, so Layer's going to walk up, find the wall. The damage to the fire minions is good, but Layer's going to ignore the fight. Instead, take the result of the Phoenix and now rotate round the back.
Going for the safe option there. He probably could have taken the 1-on-1 too.
You not going for a safe option, going all the way in with that whirlwind of rage and steel to try and cause a problem. Haddix whittled down early on, as is this Phoenix. Moments away from falling, and it will do so. You saw Sheento drop Argus on Oboronic, but it wasn't enough. And the Blink Driving Strike forces the beat out of Sheento. Oboronic up and in and back out again. No mistakes from Hype Unit there. I really like this. They didn't aggress in. They're like, okay, we got what we came for.
Yeah. Really nice play, but you have this Hera has beats down now, 4 still has ult up. I would assume there's gonna be a 4 dunk on this Hera, and unless she pre-aegis it, she's insta dead here.
Patient play from Hype Unit as Layers will clear out the minions just behind them and then start to rotate into the jungle once more. Wherever Thor's missing on the map, it puts a little bit more pressure on you as we're like, where is he? Where is he? Where's he gonna come from?
Especially when it's a 12-0, 10-4 with full build.
We'll see if they can defend one more time. 5 minions on the right, 5 minions on the left, and everybody else standing in the middle, waiting for the opportunity. Haddix going to try and frontline and cause as much of a problem as possible, but only so much the King Arthur can do in this scenario.
Oh, up in the goal.
Inbound taking it up heavily. Phoenix down to half health. The World Serpent used. Those pulls on the ground cause so much distraction and annoyance. 3 Phoenixes now down. Hype Unit could be moments away from taking game 1. They're waiting for the 5 minutes on right and left, though. They're being very patient.
Yeah, I mean, just playing so nicely. We've seen so many throws, right? People have these kind of leads and throw in the game. Not Hype Unit does not want to lose this game.
All this pressure onto Inbound, but look at his health bar, it's still
Thor up in
fine.
air.
And now the backup is here. Thor was up in the air, and he comes crashing down, didn't really find the target he was after. Wow, I'm so surprised how safe they're being. Ronngyu blinks in, gets the ultimate off, and then dies for it. The burst turnaround is too much. Still alive, I will say. Crimson got a big armor monster. Panitom got to Oboronic, Netrioid got Inbound. The turnaround from Sanguine. They might be able to hold the base here.
I don't know. There's a lot of fire minions coming in. Netrioid might die here.
Layers and Wolves
it's out.
left alive. Fire minions whittling down. Frenzy pop by Ronngyu just to force the minions back. And Haddix going to try and get Layers out of this fray. The base will stand. Netrioid back in. There's that Jing again.
Passive.
Always comes up as the Thorns now used by Wolves. Wall hits from Layers. Haddix going to continue the chase. Gonna be careful.
I don't know if you... Okay.
Good up from the King Arthur. Layers still under pressure there to kill. The Man Mountain has been brought down. Haddix, Chaddix coming up big in chat. 11 to 27. The game will continue, and the first throw has happened.
I don't know if you can call that a throw.
How many throws you need?
Yeah, a lot more than that, because look at this Titan's health. There's 3 Phoenixes down. They're going to be able to go back and get the fire gas before the Phoenixes spawn, so the Titan won't heal. This is almost impossible to lose for a Hype Unit right now.
Well, Fire Giant spawns in 20 odd seconds. Layers dead for 30. Sanguine could technically go for a 5-on-4 at the FG, right?
Yeah, but then Hype Unit just sends one member down the left lane and kills the Titan.
We're trying to... Zero, right, listen. We're trying to find a way for them back into it, okay? You can't just be like knocking me like, there's no chance.
There is no way, there is no way.
You can't do that. You are a super villain. You've got to give them some hope. Give me some hope somewhere.
Okay. Well, they did not go for the fire guide, so I guess if all 3 Phoenixes comes up and they can get the Titan to heal, then sure.
Okay, it's a stretch, but I'm with it. Left hand Phoenix is coming up, so that's step 1. Panitom on the way. They're waiting a long time there because they were waiting for Layers to respawn and make sure he gets hold of that Fire Giant too. Funny enough, if they would have waited a few more seconds, it would have been an enhanced Fire Giant now.
Hera's dead.
It was a missed situation. Is she? That's a caster curse right there. No death for Hera.
I think they could have done that if Jorm decided to ult as well. Oh, here we go.
Netrioid on pressure, Layers in the sky too. Netrioid got crushed on landing. I'm a monster. Didn't end up hitting as Haddix uses ult to escape the danger. Layers still being focused out here and will fall down. Now the fight is still underway. The Phoenixes are coming back up at the same time. One by one, members of Hype Unit have fallen. It's 2 for 2. Ronngyu gets spat on and doesn't enjoy that. Wolves credit with a kill. Left-hand Phoenix will fall to fire minions. Right one soon to follow. As Sheento being chased through the jungle by Bobby. It's like the start of the game all over again.
Oh, he might survive, but yeah, Titan's dead.
And with that, game 1 goes the way of Hype Unit, the console team that has not been stopped just yet. I mean, technically they were stopped once, but they're still in this tournament. Lower bracket is a big one to play in at the moment. Sanguine. And now have to win 2 games in a row. You've been in this spot yourself a couple of times, right? Of being down and having to win 2 in a row?
Not that I can think of. I'm sure I have been, but not that I can remember right now. But
you've never lost games.
Yeah, I think that's more accurate actually. Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to be mean. I was like, hey, you've been in that spot. How does it feel when you're down? How do you bounce back in those scenarios?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a rough loss for Sanguine, obviously, because that was very one-sided. But obviously, I think it's like some easy key things. Just take away the Herc. I think don't give it that kind of early game again.
What about the Thor? Do you pick if you're gonna take away the Herc, you ban Thor, or do you take Thor and ban Herc?
They get choose of side now, right? So they can go first pick, and on first pick you get a lot more. You can ban a lot more target bans against enemy teams. So I think you can ban both Herc, Thor, and Suket on first pick, maybe.
Game 1 down. We'll be back after the break.
LayersSlays, baby. You know, yesterday, by the way, Hype Unit take the game versus Sanguine, joined here by Aggro. Yesterday, I was talking to the guys, the Hype Unit team, after they got their victory, and they walked out of the room and they said, Layers, I hope you enjoyed playing Thor, because you're never going to get it again. And not only does he get his Thor, but Bobby gets his Hercules as well.
Yeah.
Listen, rarely are games lost in picks and bans, but this is as close as you can come to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of games are lost in picks and bans, to be honest with you, and this is the perfect example. Sanguine try to keep Crimson off of his picks, and I think it's an understandable strategy when you look at how well Crimson has played these last few days. But Crimson's laning phase has not been impressive. It's really been his teamfight prowess that's been impressive. So who cares what he play? If he plays Jing Wei, the only way that he gets to the point where he beats you is when Inbound and Layers are popping off. Don't give them that option. I mean, do not let this team get ahead. We've seen them fall really far behind really quickly. Hype Unit SML did it to them yesterday. You know that you can do that to this team.
Yep.
Make them have to make the big comeback. Layers, and look, this team is hard to pick and ban against. I don't think Sanguine was negligent in their prep. I don't think that they came in completely unprepared. I think they came in with the wrong idea. And that's fine. That can happen when you're discussing what you want to do the day before. It's just that this team puts you in awkward positions. Now I think the rest of the tournament, Layers shouldn't get Thor and shouldn't get set. And that puts a big strain on your picks and bans, and that's the difficulty when playing against a good team, and Hype Unit Console is a good team.
If you talk to anybody worth their salt, everybody was talking about how well Crimson has performed. So I think that's why the strategy wound up here. But the thing is, Crimson is the long lane carry. He's got to get to a point, and like you said, it's just brought there by Layers and what we see out of the support player. And so because of that, you know, I have to agree, a refocus is probably correct. Watching this game was reminiscent of the old school teams that we used to watch when Andy and Adapting used to dominate on Thor back in the day, season 1 and 2, right? This was just, all right, Thor kills everybody, and the rest of my team will follow up suit. And I love this one too.
Yeah, this was sweet. Using that Chernobog vision just to make sure that Inbound knew exactly where Netrioid was. At that point, Hype Unit could just play with their food a little bit because they were so far ahead. There is no world I see in which Layers gets Thor. To put it in pretty plain terms, I wouldn't accept a trade if I were Sanguine where I got Persephone, Amma, Isis, and Layers got Thor. Nope. It's not worth it.
It really isn't. I've got to agree. Like we both said, you know, it was an interesting choice. You came in with the wrong strat. It's an outright mistake if Thor gets played again by Layers. Game number 2 should be a little bit different. Coach Visions over there has had an easy time because one of the bigger things I think about this console league team is that there are a couple of choices that you have to ban out. You know, you feel like you have to ban out this the Thor. You feel like you have to ban out the set. You feel like you have to ban out some of the other gods. And then Wolves is sitting here playing Jorm every game.
Yeah, I think that Wolves, I wonder if he's played anything but Amma, Jorm, and King Arthur, which tells me they're top 3ing his god every single time. And those are tendencies that you can take advantage of if you're on Sanguine or on SK or Simplicity or LG or SSG, any of the teams left in this tournament. I feel like that cracking Hype Unit in picks and bans is a difficult task, but I don't think they've been put to the test in that area quite yet. And that's credit to them. That's credit to Visions. It's credit to the way they've played, because if you just play the same things every game and do whatever, then teams will figure you out pretty quickly. They are posing tough questions to opposing teams, but at the end of the day, I do not think they've played against a really, really strong draft from the other side. Not that other teams haven't gotten 5 good gods, but I don't think teams have done a good enough job of keeping Hype Unit off their gods.
We'll see if that's the case here. Game number 2. As Sanguine figure things out. Briefly, we saw inside the booth there, Sanguine. That's you've got Coach Oxy there and Blaine, the owner of Sanguine. And I like to talk about the heart and soul of these teams a lot, and it's always refreshing when you see the owners come down. This guy bleeds his team. He's out there screaming.
When they had 3 Phoenixes down and they started to look like they were making a defense, he was up on his feet. He was ready to go. Quickly realized it wasn't happening, but he could feel, you could feel the passion, man, and you gotta love that about him for sure.
Yeah, he picked up this Latin American team. Not a lot of people had faith in the global series, and he was like, "No, man, this Sanguine team is for real. I'm going to take him to the minor league." And They're on one of the biggest stages that they can be here.
This has got to be a Thor ban.
Yeah, this has to be.
Okay, it's going to be a Thor first pick then. It's the only possible scenario that I can think of. Hype unit, if I'm hype unit, I consider leaving open Persephone. And I go, take it. We'll take Thor. I mean, Sanguine have kind of backed themselves into a corner. I think I would leave it open. Hype unit, this way they're gonna get Ama and something is probably the way they're gonna go. They might go Ama Jingwei to try and get Crimson back on that pick. If Sanguine don't pick Thor here, man, you might be doing the rest of this one solo.
Yeah.
Mjolnir would give you a kiss and take your teeth in
you'd
the
be
body.
doing it solo.
Exhale.
I get to leave if they don't ban Thor.
I'll run away, man. I'm leaving.
Haddix on screen right now. His choices are probably going to be prioritized as well. You've got a number of good solo lane options. Jormungandr will be the choice again. Every single... This is what Wolves will play if he gets his choice every time.
Now, this does mean that Hype Unit is either putting Ama in support or they're not picking it. I don't think we'll see them put it in the jungle.
Hey, fam.
So they're not going to pick it. Sanguine have an opportunity now, I think, to get a pretty strong return right here. I think I'd be taking Ama Merlin if I were Sanguine. That's a great pick for Sheento. He's looked so good on Merlin so far this year, and it's something that Oboronic and Crimson both prioritize.
The Erlang Shen here for Sanguine isn't a bad look either. It's something with the Hercules band that Bobby could go to. It's something that Layers plays well. So taking that for themselves is not a bad look in and of itself. Amaterasu is still missing, but it will be the Merlin.
Yeah, I wonder if Sanguine's a little bit concerned about their early pressure. They got so run over last game that they don't want to take the Ama in a matchup where Jorm has historically done very well so far this week. 82% win rate for Jormungandr this week, and he's been in nearly every game, which certainly stands out to me.
This is a big deal. I like this Thoth
I'm surprised, though, because we've seen Thoth in Crimson's hands every game. Now, you and I know that Boronic's the second best Thoth on console, second only to Crimson.
Sure.
And so that was still an option for them. But I don't know that Sanguine knew that. And they see that Jingwei pick. I think they may have left open that Thoth, and Hype Unit could have gone with something else here, maybe for Inbound in that support role to get him nice and comfortable. I'm a little bit surprised. I think Hype Unit may have gotten a pick that they didn't need right here.
Yeah, that might have been a curveball they could have thrown. Oboronic has been one of the go-to, arguably one of the best mid-lane mage players before this big meta shift happened where everybody starts playing different things. You point to Oboronic as the mage guy, as the mid-lane guy, and his Thoth is dirty. Crimson has kind of usurped him, but I think Crimson gets to Jingwei and Oboronic is going to grab the Thoth.
I mean, there's a chance they put Jingwei mid. SSG did it yesterday. Rivals done it a lot during the regular season.
But they do that. SSG does it specifically because Barra plays there.
Sure. I mean, but Crimson plays Thoth. So that you bend your comp in order to meet that at times.
The question that you ask yourself, and that Vision, this is Vision's job right now. The mathematics he's doing is the difference between Crimson and Boronic's Thoth bigger than the difference between Crimson and Boronic's Jingwei?
Sure.
And I think Crimson is undoubtedly the better Jingwei player out of the two of them. It's less about the Thoth and more about Jing there. Cabrakan chosen. That could either go to Layers or Inbound, and right now, I think it is absolutely a flex for Hype Unit.
I think so too. I think it's likely going to end up in Inbound's hands, though, because his God pool with Serket and Hercules taken away, Xing, Horus, I feel like you're looking towards the back end of Inbound's God pool right now. In Layers, I would like to see another physical damage dealer here that is actual, that needs to be respected. I think the Susano pick is super smart, one that Layers certainly could have gone to, and that means this Haddix could be going to his
Freya.
patented Susano solo. That's kind of what he's known for in the ranked scene.
I think
could be Thor solo, could be Susano solo. I don't know how well Susano does in the Jorm matchup. All of his displacement is negated.
But it's extra damage, right?
Sure.
Netrioid, the Freya returns. Listen, Freya, one of my favorite characters in the game.
Jingwei is on the other side. That's always been a pretty decent matchup for Jing because she can dash out of that banish. Now, she does concede pressure pretty heavily. I think that I like the Raven.
I love the Raven.
That's something that Layers has gone to this week when Thor and Set have been taken off the table. Raven has kind of been that third in line, it's felt like, for this team. I think that Sanguine has done a much better job in picks and bans. They've got good enough CC. I think this game for Hype Unit is going to be how well can Inbound play on this Cabrakan, a pick that is risky, but knowing that they might pick Freya on the other side, I think they got away with a pretty good pick.
Yeah, the Freya is, as I said, I love her in theory. I actually don't like this version of Freya all that much, but two people do, Funball and Netrioid. And two people win with it, Funball and Netrioid. So it's one of those things where, you know what, if you're that damn good at playing the character, you can kind of resurrect them against this draft. It might be a little rough. Hype Unit, I think, had a much harder time. The ban phase from Sanguine was fantastic this time around.
Much better.
We still see Ravana on Layers, and I think what Layers did on the Thor, probably not what he can do on the Ravana, but it's close.
In this Erlang Shen pick for Ronngyu, I think is going to have a much easier time taking fights in the early game than that Xing Chen did. Xing Chen very good, but hitting level 5 is so critical for that character. Erlang Shen hitting 5 is just more CC dumped into the kit, as if the root and the knockup really wasn't enough for the character. I think that Sanguine came away with a much better draft that can defend their buffs way better. Their CC in their 3v3 is really strong. How well can Netrioid survive in these late game team fights with this much efficient backline dive is a concern, but at the same time, I think Sanguine did much better here.
Thor and Susano, which one winds up in the solo lane? Either way, it keeps the early game charged up. That was one of the problems here for most of the teams playing against Hype Unit, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Getting trounced in the early game. That's the weak point. That's where you want to attack them. We'll see if Sanguine can stretch it to a game 3. Sanguine, Hype Unit, it's Hindu Man, and it's Zeros.
Thanks so much, F-Dot and Aggro on the desk. Yes, it is me and Zeros back at it again for game 2, and I'm hoping Sanguine can kind of rally a little bit based off that first performance.
Yeah, I like the draft so much more here. And then again, we don't give Inbound the Circetto, the Hercules, so he probably won't be able to run the early game as good. Cabrakan's not too bad early game, but it's not the same as a Hercules.
We're definitely at that point, though, in the stage of the season, Zeros, that you've got to have deep god pools to be able to have your main gods banned out, and that's exactly what's happened against Hype Unit here. They've had Thor taken away from them, they've had the Hercules stripped away in the banning section, and as you mentioned, that Circuit. So now we go a bit deeper, and this Cabrakan, it's had a rise as of late. We've seen it in the jungle and the support role.
Yeah, I think honestly, I don't like it in support at all. I think in the jungle, I mean, but I think in support it has potential. He's against the Sheento on this Merlin. Now Merlin's super safe against Cabrakan, so probably will be hard to punish him. Freya can also ult out of his walls.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. It's gonna be about punishing Ronngyu, I guess.
A lot of mobility for Sanguine as Ronngyu gets aggressive. And you talk about punishing Ronngyu, they're trying to do just that there, but the turtle came into play. And that bought enough time to just at least reposition himself. It's just 3 members being kept busy by Unit right now. As the blue buff is almost, sorry, the buff is almost stolen, not the blue buff, the speed. As Layers will secure it for himself, and he's going to be playing that Ravana this game. Ronngyu will follow him through. As Sheento get a bit of free farm in mid.
That was a really well played by Ronngyu. Gets out of the first position and almost steals the speed as well. And now he's wasting a lot of time for Ravana here.
But the buff is still being chipped away at slowly and forcing the share situation to go on. They look for a cheeky steal. No, he was close, but close is not close enough. With the pressure, though, you can also see that Sheento is getting a monster lead there. He got his own red buff on his own, as well as that first creep wave. And now Ronngyu is still healthy enough in this mid position.
Yeah, doesn't get the red buff either, unfortunately, but still wastes Ravana's time. Like, Ravana has a kind of weird jungle pathing now in the early game. I think, honestly, Ronngyu should have followed the Ravana to the backup there to even delay his more time, because that's what this start is about for the support, right? You might not necessarily steal the buffs or get the buffs, but you're still wasting the enemy jungler's time, which means your jungler will be way ahead of the enemy jungler.
Inbound only level 1 gets engaged on by Panitom. He even waited there, Panitom, for the Tremors to be on cooldown. And that turtle knockup from Ronngyu will give Sanguine first blood. And the first blood goes to the jungler, Panitom.
Yeah, this is what we've seen from Inbound a bit, like, what is he really doing there going up, trembling the wave when there's 2 people around? He didn't know that Erlang was in the jungle, I suppose, but still, like, way too aggressive.
And that ends up getting punished quite heavily there. Good news is he at least did hit level 2 at the tail end of that, as Netrioid versus Jing is a, well, it's a dull affair in this matchup, I'd say, because it's very tricky for either of them to kill the other.
Yeah, it is. Freya still has the pressure, I think, but Jingwei should be safe, because Aggro mentioned it earlier. She can dash away from the... You get banished, you just dash before you hit the ground, so Freya doesn't have a lot of follow-up on that. Also, if Freya gets you low, starts ulting, you can ult as Jing to avoid that as well, so kind of defensive matchup, I'd say.
You can see the two just going to trade in this laning phase. I'm going to start calling it Pulsing Irradiate once again already in preparation of the changes, but Netrioid still values this pick. We've not seen too much of it this year, though.
Yeah, I think we've only seen Funball played it once.
Yeah.
I think that's the only time we've seen it in the second phase of SPL.
In fairness, though, that game was also not really important as well, which is surprising to me. Good wall comes into play there. But is he going to be able to bring down Wolves? The trade's interested. Panitom's looking for Layers, and Layers is on his last legs. Haddix takes down Wolves, but Inbound shows up in his time. Panitom, though, with a lovely little backstep. And baits it out the kill, and now Ronngyu blinks in, looks for the pin, knockup will hit, body blocks come into play, but oBoronic is there too, and he ends up getting punished as Panitom just bit off more than he could chew.
I don't know about that Susano teleport into the tower. Unfortunate though, Ronngyu misses his pin there, so he doesn't. I think if he hits the pin on Cabrakan and roots him in place, I think that's a kill. Obviously, that's a way overcommit by Susano. Should not have teleported in there.
Yeah, agreed. I think he was just feeling the moment too much there. Everything just started to go right for Sanguine at the beginning. You see the blue buff stripped away by Ronngyu down that right-hand side. He's having a very good game on this Erlang. Shen, you need him to.
Yeah, still Sanguine so far ahead. 1.5k gold ahead at 3 minutes. That is pretty good.
Well, we're not spoken about it just yet, but I think it's the right time because the one kill went to a god of yours. This Thoth, right?
Mr. Toffee.
What about him? What do you like about him? So much that you pick him every game.
What is there not to like? Let's put it that way instead.
The ult noise is really annoying.
No, it's not.
You like it?
Yeah, it's the best sound.
But it telegraphs that you're going to ult, right?
Yeah, but then people just know that they're dead before they're dead, you know.
Okay, well, what about he doesn't have a stun anymore?
That kind of sucks, actually. It does go through people now, though. I guess back in the days, the stun used to go through people. Oh, Layers could be in trouble.
He really is in trouble. Nice overhead kick, though, and the ult comes in from Haddix. And he'll take the life of the jungler. And now oBoronic, who was on the rotation to support, is forced to final judgment. But he can't find the kill. Wolves is lurking. Gets a good knock-up. But he's going to get a bit of separation for Ronngyu, who still needs some help to get away here. It's all about whether Wolves can really find the shots, and he thinks better of it.
That's why 4 solo can be so good. These rotations, he just leaves lane for a second. Your soul lane is probably, 4 is missing, and then 2 seconds after he dunks you. So like 4 solo can have so much impact in the early mid game.
But this is a moment where there's a bit of susceptible damage that could hit onto this worm without the ultimate available. He's got no real escapes. He'll try and use the tier 1 tower to protect himself, and it will be good enough. Layers would love to come over and help out, but being only level 4 at this moment makes it trickier.
This Jormungandr, he doesn't even have Jade Emperors, and he already seems kind of immortal. Did you see the damage? It was like almost nothing. Is Jormungandr bugged or something? Why is he so tanky?
Oh, well, we don't talk about bugs here. There's no bugs here. Nothing like that going on. But maybe he's just Wolves, you know? He's just got like an innate passive.
That alpha energy, I guess. I don't know.
So I was talking to the designers, by the way, Zero. It's about next year giving the pro players a passive of their own, right?
Oh, yeah?
And that maybe could come into play with any god they select. What would you like your passive to be? If you play next year, obviously, I'm not trying to force it.
That you can ban Thoth, I guess.
You can't secure a red buff against oBoronic, who's just going to use a final judgment there. He's a little bit low on mana, so he's going to be careful. Rooting from Layers, though, and pressure onto Ronngyu, who's been isolated. The walls get chipped away by Sheento. Good work there to try and give him a window, but it's still not going to be enough. Crimson gets credit for the kill. Netrioid, though, to the sky, does a ton of damage alongside the blizzard from Sheento. And that's going to be 6-2 on the scoreboard, as Sanguine had just given Hype Unit a realistic answer back to game 1.
How much damage did that Freya ult did? I think every shot of his ult he hit like 3 or 4 people with, so that was a lot of damage.
And the net worth, you can see it's everybody on Sanguine at the top. Only Ronngyu really trailing in terms of gold gain so far. But that's exactly how you want it to be.
Yep.
The best news I could say from Hype Unit is at least their carries are trying to get up there in terms of gold as well.
Yeah.
They're the highest in the team. Crimson will agility away. Panitom didn't recognize he had that option, but now that's on cooldown. So is the airstrike. And so is Crimson's respawn timer.
That's a big kill. He was kind of pulling ahead on this Jing a little bit, Crimson, and we've seen Crimson play this Jing before and do so much work in the mid lane game.
Netrioid under pressure was trying to lazy back a little bit there, nearly got punished for it, but a banish will always separate him, and that's what you spoke about earlier. It's going to be very tricky for this Cabrakan to lock down as many members as they want to.
Yeah.
They have found a bit of success on Ronngyu, though.
Yeah, for sure. But then again, I feel like Ronngyu, he's been putting himself behind a little bit, but he's also put the enemy carries behind a lot. So even if he's behind, so worth for him.
Definitely, indeed. Obviously, as the game goes on, he'll want to try and catch up some experience as Layers meets Haddix in the jungle there. And feels what it's like to get hit by a hammer double tap from Thor, but this time it was with a Gladiator shield. Obviously, he's playing in the solo lane, so you see the adjustments to the build based off the position they're playing. Haddix looking to try and strip away the blue and is successful there too.
Impressive. Like, I think Thor might be like one of the best answers to Jormungandr here. We've seen this matchup before, and it seems like Thor does really well in it. And if you can like win lane with Thor, as I said, he has so much rotating touch with himself.
Blinking and getting aggressive on Crimson, and there is Haddix to the back line! He helps to annihilate Layers, Oboronic soon to follow. Inbound juggled in the air, and 3 kills for Sanguine. The Fury could be on the cards after this red buff.
As a man on 4 solo is good at rotating, we get a 3-man dunk into a 3-man wipe, so...
Not much you can really do as well as your Wolves, because you're like, hey guys, he's coming. Yeah. I can get my worm over there, but it'll take me a bit longer, unfortunately. Gold Fury then for Sanguine. You saw the graph at the bottom to show the experience in gold, but it just escalated even more so. 5,500 gold at less than 10 minutes in.
Yeah, and
this is a back and forth.
Yeah, experience as well, so far ahead. Probably even further ahead than what Hype Unit were last game.
What a bounce back though from Sanguine. I mean, to get decimated in game 1 after a great early start from Hype Unit. It's Sanguine's turn to do the same thing to Hype now. And you mentioned, like, you know, it was just a rough day yesterday for Sanguine a little bit, maybe a little bit demoralized. Hype Unit literally hype about the whole plays yesterday. They came in strong, but really good response from Sanguine here.
Yeah, but maybe it's just, is this easy against Hype Unit to make sure that Inbound doesn't get Hercules or Cat and make sure Layers doesn't get Thor?
Maybe it is just as simple as that. Hype Unit's still not out of this one just yet, but that will be enforced on to Wolves one more time. He's going to put him under some more pressure again at level 7.
There could be a kill.
To the level 10, by the way, of this Haddix. He goes to the sky early, expecting a rotation, I'd say, too. They may still recommit. They know Wolves doesn't have his ultimate. They'll clear the creeps. Land the double tap, spin for the win, get aggro, give Panitom some damage. In comes Ronngyu. Ronngyu tanky Erlang Shen. He's not going to get the kill. Look at how much damage that worm can take.
Yeah, that was...
Should be fine.
Cast
it, go on.
I don't know. Yeah, it's dead. Yeah.
Good cast! I would have said the same thing.
Kind of weird play. I don't know. They could definitely have dove that Jorm and killed him. They seemed very like they didn't know. Thor goes up in the air and kind of looks into jungle. I thought they were afraid of someone rotating.
It seemed that way, and then after the fact, they didn't really have the communication to dive in as well as they could have. Obviously, I think if Haddix would have landed the ultimate, it could have been a bit of a different story for Wolves there. But escape is good. Sheento, very aggressive. That's a Raven, a Cabrakan, and a Thoth in his face, and he blinks in on them. Ronngyu blinking in too, rooting pressure onto Inbound, the arcane damage coming through, red buff stripped, and now Panitom after the fact. Final judgment though on the backside from Oboronic did do a ton of damage towards Sheento, and Crimson turns up in time to turn it around. Inbound just trying to get back towards his tier 2 tower. Yes, his tier 2 tower, and Panitom is still thinking about going again.
No, he's not going to do it. I would have gone in.
Yeah, you would have. That's why you're here. That's why you're here and not out there right now. That's why. Wolves now trying to get some fun on the right-hand side as it's 12-4. This tier 1 tower has been whittled down pretty heavily as now Wolves gets walled off again. Double tap through. But you can see how much this Jade Emperor's Crown can help you out. Yeah. And I will point, he's only got tier 2 boots here. Such a tanky worm.
Yeah. Panitom though. So big. Oh, here's the dive.
And a dive should be successful.
Yeah, Panitom. So big. There's not very often these days in this meta you see a jungler 2 levels ahead of the enemy solo laner.
And he's 3 levels ahead of his counterpart as well. And that's a good point about that 2 levels ahead of his solo laner. Really good work all over the map from Sanguine. Honestly, nobody's not been involved at this moment as Layers with a fantastic blink will try and punish Haddix, who just read the situation so well. As soon as he got rooted, he ulted.
Yeah, he had to, or he's dead 100%. Really nice. They just don't have enough damage to kill him so far.
Not at the moment, especially with Glad Shield, and now what's probably going to be a Blackthorn's Hammer will come into play. That mana regen cooldown reduction so impactful for those solo laners, just in case they don't get that blue buff. Sanguine though, going to start off this Pyromancer. Not too risky to do this, I'd say.
Nah, Jorm could possibly... Okay, they reset. I guess that's a good call. Ronngyu is really low. There's kind of always a risk of Jorm stealing it. But yeah, this 4, when he gets his Blackthorn Hammer, like, already is so strong, and he's just going to get stronger. They just need him to rotate over. Next Gold Fury fight, I assume the Thor's gonna rotate over, and I don't see how Hive can ever win a fight when this Thor is around.
Yeah, this build from Haddix though on the Thor, we've seen a little bit of in the solo lane again. The problem is that as the game goes on, he becomes more of a CC bot and survivor than anything else. His damage will fall off a little bit without penetration.
Yeah, a little bit, but still a lot of damage in this build. Like Blackmore's Hammer gives power, Glad Shield gives power, Warrior Tavi obviously. He might get a Void Shield, a Runic Shield after as well, so it's still gonna be like a lot of damage. It's not one-shot potential on carries, but almost.
Almost. Well,
yeah.
Especially if they're behind in a multiple amount of levels. Yeah. Blink in, and a great beach from Netrioid in response to prevent the stuff from Inbound. And it's Inbound now under pressure. The pull from Panitom preventing the vanish, but the root from Ronngyu will pick him apart. That's Bobby trying to make something happen there, I feel.
Yeah, I don't mind that too much. I think that's they look for it, but like really fast reactive beat by Freya there.
So many blinks everywhere and so many good reactions coming through. Layers with the overhead kick to avoid the ultimate taunt. But can he avoid the damage out of Panitom? Answer, no.
They're just getting kills and kills and kills. I think they're just waiting for this Gold Fury. And as soon as this gets its next Gold Fury, I think they might even start looking for fire before Pyro.
Good. Sheento looking for a solo kill on Oboronic in the mid lane, who's waving that wagging finger. And Haddix was there to cover the option, if required.
Yeah, there's no way that chicken is getting out this today.
And that timing is perfect, because now the Primal Fury spawns. Is this the worst of the three Furies, from your point of view?
Not when you're in this stage, because they're probably going to want to force fire pretty soon, right? And now they have extra damage on fire. They have a really good comp at killing fire. If Freya gets her Demonic Grip online, next item, they have a Spear of Magus and Demonic Grip to shred the fire gang protection as well, so they can kill it so fast. And now they have Primal Fury on top of that.
That's a good point. Now Primal Fury just reduces the damage taken too, as well as the damage done to that Fire Giant, so we'll see how this works out. With the tier 1 tower being down the left-hand side, it's a little bit easier now for Crimson to pick up some potential farm, a little bit less contested. And you always look towards the Jing way. We saw it in last game when Sanguine were behind and had that Jing way, that it did make some plays as the build got online, but still stacking up that Devourer's Gauntlets at the moment. And the rotation's starting to come into play a little bit more towards this right-hand side.
It's a good thing for Hype, though, that Crimson is still kind of in the game. It's level 14. It's pretty big. It's similar to the enemy team, even though they're super fat. And they've been in this position before where they've been really far ahead when Crimson have been on his Jing. And he's been coming out carrying in the late game anyway, so still not over.
Now Haddix in as a substitute this week as well for Jokor, who couldn't get over here. And that is giving him a big chance for Haddix to put a name up for himself towards the pro league, towards the man leagues in the future. How do you think his tournament's been so far?
He's had some performances that hasn't been too great, I think, but like, look at this game, just absolutely popping off so many good rotations. He's a big reason. Oh,
there goes another rotation on towards Oboronic, and it's not fun to play Thoth against the Susano. Does that fed. Haddix again with the ult to cover the option as Inbound gets juggled in the air. Panitom with another couple of kills for himself. Jugglers this week are popping off.
Yeah, they are. This should be a free fire. Not a free fire guy. This could be the comeback for Hive if Jorm somehow can steal this. I don't see it happening with the amount of damage they have. It seems like he might not even go for it. No,
he's just going to look to base. Panitom's already here to try and whittle down the Worm's health bar, but inadvertently he might actually set up a bit of damage for his team.
Oh, he made a reset.
Forcing Sanguine to reset there, but the Fire Giant wasn't reset completely. It's still at half health. Ronngyu comes in to make sure Layers can't get involved and takes a trade there. It's taken a long time with just the carries on this FG though, having to tank it up.
Should get it there though.
And they will take the Fire Giant down. Sanguine with their first one of the game.
Wow, both these games been so snowballed, and I guess Ravana dies here, yeah. Both these games have snowballed so hard. Exactly the same as last game. Even more this game, I'd say. It's kind of crazy.
Rongyu's a little bit overextended here. Doesn't have his ultimate available any longer, but a great roll from Haddix comes into play to keep him alive. All the while, good news if you're a Hive unit fan, Crimson is still farming. He's stripped the red buff, he's stripped the purple from this side of the jungle, took down a tier 1 tower, as Sheento is forced to beads there to avoid the stun. Great final judgment, but just not enough damage, and now Haddix from the sky to punish them both. Netrioid and Panitom will get the kills, but Crimson at least picked up Sheento on the backside.
What is he doing over there?
He's making plays, that's what he's doing.
This Thor though, man, he's everywhere. Like whenever there's a fight, the Thor dunk is just coming in. Oh.
We'll get away with the airstrike.
He's definitely dead here. I want to see him run into the fountain and take the Jing with passive and fly out.
Genius. He's going to do it.
He knows.
You read it. He knows the tricks. Can he do it in time and get away? Run! Eagle! Yes, try it at home, specifically when you're trying to end the game.
Oh no, he messed it up.
What was he supposed to do?
He's dead.
What was he supposed to do?
He should have flown through the tower.
Through the tower and died to the tower?
he wouldn't have died. He could have. He had his one and his dash up.
Oh, go all the way left past
yeah,
2-1.
yeah. He could have made it maybe. Probably die in the end, but
Clearly they need Coach Zeros to let him know in the comms. What are you doing? Oracles on the left going to go down then. Just for a moment or two, 23-5. We've had 2 games in a row that have been very one-sided, but both teams have shown why they're at this stage, why they've managed to go so deep, and show why they're still in contention to go to the World Championships.
yeah. I have to talk about that Jing wave play though. He does get the Sheento, he kills him first, removes Fire Gampa from huge, gets a lot of gold for him as well, right? It's a high-level Merlin he killed. Also wasted a lot of time with the play he did there. Could have wasted even more, but you see, they haven't pushed a single tower with this Fire Gamp yet.
You talk about wasting time. Oh, where's Inbound, man? I don't like this call, Bobby. It's a little bit too far forward for my liking, especially with nobody else really around you at level 12. Haddix
Could be out.
could have a field day. That wall would have connected. May have been a different story, but you're right. You will escape for the time being. If Sanguine would have let him, seems to be the case.
Yeah, I thought it was dead for sure there. Maybe Wolves might get his alt forced here.
Oh, Haddix is just going to proxy. Carries more than anything else there. Is in the jungle. Slayers ends up falling down. Now Crimson, after the airstrike, a little juggle from the Gust, but Panitom back with a blink. Final Judgment connects from Oboronic, but not on the target he was really after, unfortunately. That was Ronngyu. The return of damage on Panitom is good, though.
Oh.
And he was so close to getting the kill. Not close enough,
That
however.
would have been so big if they got it.
Definitely. All the while, Haddix has just been proxying this worm all the way back to his own Phoenix line. Only a tier 2 tower left on the left-hand side as Sanguine now look for this right one. You can see how tanky Haddix is here with all this health. And as you said, he's got the shield online too.
Yeah, they don't have great Phoenix damage here. 2 members still dead on Hype unit though, but Merlin, Freya, not 2 great characters at killing Phoenixes.
Haddix still holding his own for the time being. The Gladiator shield will give him a bit of a heal off that spin, which has been increased this year. Such a big change for Thor. We didn't see him for so long in competitive play, and then a bit of a change to the Berserker Barrage, and all of a sudden he's back in action.
Yeah, it's not just the Berserker Barrage, this is ult as well. So, you can miss your ult now. Just wall someone, double tap, spin, and it's just so much damage from the lightning damage from the ult. So, I was having such a good time with Thor not being in the meta, but now you have to worry about the global ult all the time, getting dunked and getting one shot. So.
Okay, for all those aspiring mid lane pro league players out there, right? Give him some tips of how to deal with Thor. What gods are the good picks against him?
Anything that's obviously you want a dash, right? If you are immobile, like you saw last game, you had Hera against it. She has no way of, if she gets dunked on and she doesn't have a good juke to like juke the dunk, then you're just dead, right? But if you can play something with a dash, or if you're like can pre-Aegis the dunk, because you see the area of the dunk before you get dunked, right?
Right.
So like if you can pre-Aegis that, or like pre-beat, but I don't know, it's so hard, man.
So, you didn't really give me good answers there. You gave me use your relics and hope for the best.
Yeah, but pre-Aegis before the dunk damage, okay? Because that reduces a lot, because he's usually gonna start spinning after, right? Like you negate the dunk damage, which is a lot, and the spin damage, which can make you survive, or like maybe your teammates can come in and help you after. And then also if you play something with a dash, also like Discordia, for example, a dash with immunity frames.
Oh yeah.
Can avoid it, so like something like that, but it's still hard.
You mentioned Discordia was in a little bit of in action here as now Sanguine start to aggress again towards the Phoenix line. Minions pushing up in all 3 lanes here. And the last Fury did just go down as well. I wasn't keeping an eye, unfortunately, on what it was. It does look like it was the Oni Furies. Those minions are a little bit more enhanced than usual. Oni Fury is pretty impactful, but it doesn't look like Sanguine are going to use it. They want this next Fire Giant here.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. That you don't want to push it without fire. Even though you're so far ahead, this fire is free, you might as well take it.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Sanguine played very similar to how Hype Unit did in Game 1.
Yeah.
Make very little mistakes, don't over-aggress, just take the free wins in certain scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, the tournament lives is on the stake here, right? So, like, one mistake, one throw here, and Hype Unit could come back. We've seen it before. They've done it multiple games, I think.
Stop saying that. I don't want to see it. Not again. Not again. I'm not here for 60 minutes. None of this one, surely. Well, EruptCrimson is at level 18, the highest level on his team. The crit is in about the same spot I said Netrioid's crit was at. The same Game 1 situation is about to unfold here. Can Hype Unit hold the base? Now, wave clear at the Phoenix line isn't terrible from them, though. They do have Thoth.
Thoth is good at that, but Thoth is level 15, so Yeah, still gonna struggle.
And Thoth has no beads anymore, and I hear Haddix going to the sky again. He's going to say hello to Layers, as Inbowned is being said hello to by Netrioid. Ronngyu is still on the chase, and a great pin to look at Layers, who was looking for an escape route there. oBoronic will slip away for now with the evade and punish. Ronngyu takes a ton of damage, but the Fire Giant will reach it back up. Final Judgment connects, but you can see it just tickles the members of Sanguine. And now they're banished with no beads. Boronic's going to fall down very quickly, as is Wolves. Frenzy popped. Phoenix is about to fall.
Any chance of comeback is out the window as soon as those two people get picked in the jungle there.
Airstrike used. Crimson will be safe for a moment or two. The Titan under pressure. We're going to a game 3 very, very quickly. No surprises here, Zeros.
No surprises. I mean, after seeing first game, I think it's a pretty big surprise.
I mean, in terms of no surprises, see both teams are back in action, showing everything they've got.
Yeah, sure.
Such an important moment for this minor league team from Sanguine to still have a shot at going to Hera's Expo. And same for Hype Unit now. So both teams have shown how good they can be and how bad it can get. Game 3, what's the changer? Ban Thor for both teams?
Hype Unit obviously going to go to first pick, I think. Way harder for Sanguine then to ban out the Herc and the Suket, and then maybe they. I think if I'm Sanguine on second pick, I still ban the Herc and Suket. Let them have Persephone or Isis. I think at this point you see Inbound when he's not on this god, when he can't have the good early game that he wants. Very little impact.
We do see a lot of this over the years, though. I've talked about first pick, second pick. First pick so important now with the meta, how it's looking.
Yeah, I think so. I think it depends which teams are playing against each other, but in this tournament, I think so for sure, because every team has their picks that they play really well with.
Well, it's all going to come down to one game between these two, and after the break, we'll get to it. Back in a moment.
And just like that, Panitom also slays. By the way, Sanguine win the game, and now we're going to a game 3, and it is just as devastating as game number 1 was. Aggro's here.
Hey, it's me. It's just as devastating in game 1, but it's the other way. Look, Sanguine do such a better job in picks and bans. They play with a lot more aggressiveness because their picks allow them to, and they keep Hype Unit off of their most important picks. They put Inbound on the Cabrakan. He's not able to fight as well early on. They put Layers on the Ravana. He can't use that global ultimate. And Haddix, this time around, it becomes a full participant instead of just kind of being along for the ride. He had a great game on this Thor. This
is the story of the tape. 0-3-0, 0-8-0, or 0-8-3 for Wolves and Layers. 4-0-11, 12-1-12. For Haddix and Panitom. The right side of the map was just dominant, and something that Zero said as well. I mean, Inbound was kind of not as... Inbound wasn't as effective as he was in game number 1.
Not even close. I mean, he fell behind early on. He got first blooded by Panitom in mid. I mean, there's clearly going to be sparks flying whenever these two teams are playing, because both these games have been complete blowouts so far. I mean, this idea that both times the teams that have lost have had these lower pressure mid laners makes me think that maybe it's time we just go back to the high pressure mids, hunters, you know, the things that clear well. Pick me an Anher, man, for once. I feel like Anher's completely fallen off so far this week. I feel like those are the types of picks that would do well in a set like this right now.
Yeah, you know, I was talking on stream last night. Everybody was like, "Where is Anher gone?" And largely my answer was that the Anher players are the ones qualified for HRX, and
Sure.
There's something to be said about that just being their god pool, but there's also something to be said about the successful teams playing a lot of on her. So if you're trying to get to HRX, nasty ultimate from Haddix, I think, pulling out the pressured selections would be good, and on her specifically.
I think so too. I mean, this is just going to be a difficult draft now for Sanguine in my mind, because Hype Unit should absolutely be taking first pick, and they can, and honestly, you can just make it so that Sanguine can't ban anything that you usually play and force them to pick it away from you. I also don't think I'm super opposed to Hype Unit taking second pick and just not worrying about Persephone and Isis that much. Sure, you got to worry about those gods, but I think we're at the point now, this always happens when we get in these long tournaments, you'd much rather ban away the gods that are starting to do the crazy things and comfort picks than the traditional OP selections that we've seen a lot of. I feel like that might be the right idea now for this set.
More of a what have you done for me lately
Yeah.
than what have you done for me in theory, right? We see what goes on.
Hype Unit hasn't played Persephone at all this week. It's a god that I think you have to make teams prove they have, and then once they prove they have it, you never let them have it ever again.
Agreed.
It's risky to let them prove it in an elimination game when you've got your tournament life on the line. I think that might be the direction I'd be leaning.
We'll see if that's the case. Deathless Haddix, the stand-in here for Sanguine, certainly standing up in this one. Maybe the first overly impressive game that he's had all tournament. He has not been very loud this week, but coming in, training with the team, he is a substitute and certainly making himself known here in game number 2. Game 3 on the line. You see Sanguine talking before with both their coach, their owner, kind of anyone that's there.
You heard him.
There it is.
Hey, man. He's letting you know.
I actually really loved their announcement when they said that they were picking up Haddix. They were like, yeah, Haddix is going to be coming with us, not hardcore, so Haddix is Jaja now. And I was like, okay, man.
Yeah. They can say it. All right, if you guys say so, that's up for you to decide, I suppose.
I'm here for it, though. I love the way the Latin American scene is kind of rallying around them.
It's a fun team, man. I mean, they take themselves the right amount of seriously. They're very serious with the game. They understand they've got great potential, and they're completely right in that regard, but they're still willing to have a little bit of fun. I love this group of guys. I love watching them play, and I think they're cool dudes as well.
Yeah, a lot of fans out there in chat. Our own social media person is a Sanguine fan. So we've got, and then the Hype Unit guys. They're representing all of console right now. Everyone's out there just going, "What's up?" I mean, even there's a Paladins tournament going on in the studio. Even the Paladins console guys are like, so how's that Hype console team doing?
They're doing pretty well, but this early Isis ban. If you're going to ban Isis in first pick, I don't think it's bad necessarily, but there is no reason whatsoever to first ban it.
Yeah.
Because you have to bluff to Sanguine that you're not, and that they have to if they don't want to let you have it. I think that is, it's a minor detail, but one that I think ends up being pretty important.
These tournaments are earned on minor details. That said, the Hell ban, love it. Sheento's going to beat you with it. Layers going to beat you with a Thor, so Sanguine ban that one out. And the Erlang Shen, that was really big as well. Ronngyu was setting everyone up. Panitom and Haddix did a great job, but Ronngyu was always around, and that's always going to be the case for what it's worth. But the Erlang Shen just has so many different options.
I think that you ban Hercules. Yep, you leave open Set and Persephone. See which one Hype Unit's going to take.
The underworld
They're going to take
opens.
Persephone, which is a bit surprising to me. I really thought they might take Set in that spot. If I'm Sanguine here, the problem is I want to take Yorm and Set. I want to force Wolves off that Yorm selection. But that means that we have to be putting Set ADC, mid, or jungle, and that might not be where they want to prioritize it. You have to take Set here, though. I really do not think you can let Layers have it. Look at the difference between him on the picks where he looks super comfortable in Thor and Set, and him when he gets on gods like we saw him last time around with the Robin.
Well, I mean, even the Robin, I'm a fan of Layers as Robin. I think that was just dominance from Sanguine.
It's fine, but I don't think it's nearly as good. I think Hype Unit probably pretty happy with where they end up here. You get to go Set and King Arthur most likely. You go Set Amma here, and that is actually disgusting if they go with those
lead us
two.
to glory.
King Arthur's
to
fine
victory.
as well. It's just a matter of whatever Wolves wants to prioritize there.
The question is usually, do you have a Persephone? And the thing with Hype Unit is that they have 2 mid laners.
Yeah, they do.
Between the 2 of them, somebody, because like we said, Crimson's playing carry, but Smite as a job, you're also playing in your off time. You're also playing ranked, right? And you're a mage player, you're a mid player, you're playing Persephone. So between the 2 of them, Oboronic and Crimson, I have to trust that one of them knows the ins and outs of this character.
I agree, but like I said, it's a little bit risky to make them prove that they've got a Persephone in a game like this. I love the Susano ban. Keep Panitom off that pick. He looked so much better on that selection than he did on the Pele that he had in game number 1. But this means that Inbound's God pool will again get targeted. They've already gotten rid of the Cirquet and the Hercules. A little surprised at the Khepri ban. I think the Horus ban is solid.
Yep.
This does leave open Xing Chen. And that feels like a pick that Bobby probably vibes pretty well with.
The Khepri is interesting because Khepri is a character that can be played a couple of different ways. You can play Khepri in the middle of the fight, just like you do a Ganesh. And so I think that there is a thought process that Khepri Persephone might be too persistent, and whether or not Bobby has it, we'll think about a place. Yeah, ban it. I think that's kind of the conversation that went down with Sanguine.
I think he played it earlier this week, and it didn't look particularly good, but that doesn't mean it's not worth the ban in this spot. Khepri is just insane right now, and I think that's fine.
What if I gave you an extra life?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Well, wait, am I on an impactful character like Persephone said or King Arthur?
Yeah.
Then yeah, I want that.
Sounds good.
That sounds good to me.
The monkey being hovered here as Hype Unit focuses on the jungle. No Panitom, Susano, no Panitom, Tasker. So we'll see the Panitom Hun Bats. The panic from the Fear No Evil should be a big deal here versus what Hype Unit has set up here. Now, Hype on the clock.
I mean, you need to get something for Inbound and for either Oboronic or Crim. You could go with the Chernobog again and leave that Persephone over to Crim in that long lane. I don't think that would be a bad look. I think Chernobog has a pretty good matchup against Yorm. Pretty easy to hit him with that combo. I
mean, you know these guys better than most. Who is likely to be the Persephone player?
Man, I really do think they could both play it. I feel like it's more Oboronic, probably, than Crimson. I think that's the way that I'd be leaning here, but I really think they could both play it. I'd assume they both have it.
Wow, the Amaterasu late game here. That's going to be the support for Bobby. Aggressive as always. And the Camazotz. Wow.
I mean, Hype Unit's a team that every time I talk to them, they're telling me about all these weird strats they have, and they've got all these things that no one's really ready for. This is their elimination game.
This is where you do it.
This is the first time they faced elimination all week.
This is where you pull it out.
So if you've got something you feel like is good, you don't. It's a big regret. Talking from experience here, to have practiced a couple strategies, it worked really hard on them, and then never pull them out at LAN, and never get a chance to show them when you feel like they could have been really good. So it's going to be taking a page out of Annenster's book with that Camazotz ADC, it looks like, from this point. The dive on this Hype Unit team is absolutely nuts between Ama, Arthur, Set, Camazotz. And Persephone's a god that can get killed and you don't mind as much as you would most of the time. Hype Unit may just forego Peel entirely and go completely into the backline and try and kill this Merlin over and over and over again. And it could work. I kind of like it.
It's going to be real interesting. Fenrir here playing the support. So Sanguine matching fire with fire. And they're going, all right, if you guys are going to play hyper aggressively, we can do that too. Fenrir shows up here. So we're talking about...
That's been the meta of the set, right? It's just been one team blowing out the other. I get it. But this does leave you more vulnerable to getting blown out at the same time on both sides.
I mean, that's the game plan that we're looking at here. Persephone likely to go in the middle lane here. Are we entertaining the idea at all of a middle lane Camazotz or a middle lane Set?
No, definitely not mid lane Set. You're giving Set over to Layers 100% in my mind. I mean, actually, maybe you give Camazotz to Layers and you let Crim take the Set long. I think Persephone's in mid 100%.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one where these three carries wind up because Camazotz is pure damage. Doesn't do anything else. He does pure damage. Set doesn't do anything else, just pure damage. 70, well, she does a whole lot of everything else. So it's going to be an interesting one here for Hype Unit. I think they have pure damage. This is a drag race car right now.
Yeah.
If they can shift well, they get it.
It's difficult, though, because Sanguine has drafted a really good composition at punishing you for not having having purification beads between the Fenrir and the Hun Bats. And Merlin, one of the most difficult characters to dive on the set in general. He's just a hard mage to dive because he transforms. If he's in Arcane, he knocks you up, then does fire damage on the way in, drops his fire 2 at his feet, and then stands in it. You can't hit him. You know, you would take too much damage. I think that we saw that in the game where Hypeita played against Obey. MORWolves was on the set. MORWolves was allowed to free cast because they were just killing Wowie over and over and over again because that was a much easier target. But that easy target really isn't here for Layers this time. It's Jing, one of the hardest ADCs to dive, and Merlin, one of the harder mages to dive. I think that Layers could potentially have problems if this game goes late.
This is anyone's guess but mine. Hype Unit, Sanguine, Game 3 of the rubber match. Down to you guys on the cast.
And it all comes down to this. The whole year, these two teams have scrapped and battled through their respective leagues to get to this moment in time. And Zeros, these are two interesting drafts.
Yeah, very interesting. What I thought would happen happened though, where Sanguine would get second pick and they will just leave Persephone and all these strong picks open and just ban away Inbound as much as they can. You saw them doing it. They banned the Surcat, they banned the Herc.
Now, we were talking a little bit off air about this set and how you pick anti-heal against this set potentially. And talking about the set a little bit more, he will be playing in that long lane at the moment.
No, mid lane, right?
Sorry, his left side of the minimap.
Oh, that's weird. Crimson usually plays in the long lane. So,
exactly,
yeah.
so they're doing a bit of a switch up here to make sure that Persephone goes to the mid lane. Now, we talked about anti-heal against set, but this whole composition is really bad against anti-heal.
Yeah, that is true, but still. Ronngyu might be in trouble. No, he should be fine. So much dive potential though, as they mentioned on the desk. So much dive potential coming out.
Is in trouble there. You see that curse come into play, the horrific emblem, I should say, as Inbound try to contest this speed buff and punish Panitom. But at the end of the day, he got punished, but Ronngyu will go down for first blood. First of all, the quick rotation out of Layers on the jungle Camazots here too. That's caused a problem.
Full boots on the Camazots. That's why they're able to get a kill on Thunder. Really smart.
He stayed in base because of the invade strategy coming through. We saw a couple of times that happen in this year. But when teams have recognized it, they've kind of adjusted based off it. So that first blood, well, how these games have gone so far, whoever got first blood won the game, but I'm not sure about that just yet.
Whoever got first blood is like 20k gold ahead at 15 minutes.
Yeah, it seems to be the case. Inbound playing the Amaterasu this game. We'll see how he can make this one function. We spoke about his aggressive gods as where he's really shined. Amaterasu can do the best of both worlds to an extent.
Yeah.
Because of what she brings.
Also pretty safe. She can play aggressive, but she's also safe. She has a very fast dash. She's also moving very fast with the speed aura, so it could be a really good pick for Inbound.
Ninja Tabby trying to get as much done in the jungle as he can. Will be able to get the blue buff for Wolves here, who's only level 1 at the moment, because that blue buff on his own side hasn't been looked at yet. Oboronic though leapt on. No panic out of Oboronic just yet. Did go for the gust, but just couldn't stand on it. In top side, that's a lie. For some reason, I thought Oboronic was on the Jing Wei for some reason. Then he's actually on the set. It's been a long day. He's going to get lipped on again. And this is how you try and punish a set in the early game. Pressure him out early. His escapability is a little bit limited at level 2.
Yeah, he needs to hit level 3 so he gets one ability in each, or his 1, 2, 3 so he has his dash available. But didn't die, so he should still be fine.
You know what his third ability is called on set?
No, it's out in Kingslayer, that's all I know. And Skewer is his one.
Good job. Good job. I was not expecting to know either of those. The reason I'm mentioning it, do you remember do?
No.
Sandstorm.
Is that what it's called?
It's called Sandstorm.
Oh, okay, that's
I'm really surprised we've not, like, anyone's really spoken about that too much. Probably for a good reason, to be fair, because chat will be spamming it once again, along with some other copy pastas along the way. Shout out for the bees, by the way. 1-0 at the moment as Wolves. This is a classic matchup of King Arthur versus Jormungandr, so no changes there. But this isn't a classic matchup. Jing Wei versus Set. But it's also with a Camazots that's looking to try and bully the laning phase.
Yeah. Going back to the start again from Camazots as well. Full boot. Camazots, one of the gods, are really good at this, same as Thanatos, right? They already have a lot of sustain in the kit. Sure. So they don't rely on the Assassin's Blessing too much. Still picked up the Assassin's Blessing after his first back, but really good on them two characters in particular. A
really good monkey toss out from Panitom there as well, as he just strips away those oracles for a second. There's a bit of bonus golden experience. Ronngyu getting aggressive there with these unchained leaps over and over again. He's timing them nicely as well. It's always risky at the early game when people are starting to get a little bit higher in level, especially after a tumble on a Fenrir in the early stage. You don't want to see him be too passive. They've got to time that aggression nicely.
Yeah, he's been doing a good job. Like, obviously, it took a spill early game. It's kind of hard to predict that the Camasots will go full boost at level 1, I assume. So, like, if Camasots did not have full boost, I'm pretty sure he would not have died. But even though he got first blooded, still have had a lot of impact. Like, already pressured, set the dual lane back once, and now putting pressure in mid as well.
Kind of expected this would be the case, because when we see 2 aggressive games in a row, and your tournament life is literally on the line at this moment, both teams just start to compose themselves a little bit more and play a little bit more passive in terms of positioning safer, looking to survive as long as possible. You can see Crimson on this mid lane pick, gone for the Bancroft's first item.
Yeah, because of the... I don't personally love it too much, but I know why people do it, because whenever you die a Persephone, you can revive yourself, right? And you get the full Bancroft passive value from that. So, like, you have this item which gives you 200 power when you're dead. Although the downside of it, you only do 50% damage while you're in that ghost form, or whatever it's called.
That's true. So 50% power, which means you're still doing 100 power damage, right?
Yeah, I guess.
I guess that's the best way to look at it.
Yeah.
What you had to say there, by the way, just so you know for future references, I don't like it because I don't die.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Panitom will get his own speed buff on the right-hand side, and that will ding him level 5 right about now. Sheento at level 6. Crimson a little bit further behind in that mid lane than what we see out of Sheento for the time being. Obviously, these name changes, in terms of position changes, have got me thrown for a loop as well.
Yeah,
Oboronic now being in this dual lane. It's really good to have the depth in your team, though, to be able to do that.
Yeah, it is. It's also risky. We saw a lot of teams tried it, but then we see a lot of teams that did try it has gone back to have more like they only play one position. Because it is, when you're used to play with one guy in dual lane,
yep.
Like it's the comps mostly, like, and you're more used to play with people. Oh,
shots at Netrioid. Well, he's not panicked too much there.
Yeah, it's just like you put your hunter in the mid lane, for example. They're not gonna have the same kind of comp, so you don't know how to play with them at the same way usually as your mid lane. I think that's why we see a lot of teams go back to play the old ways where you have locked in positions.
Trying to cheekily steal that purple back over the wall, but won't be the case. So Hype Unit strip that away, but on the right hand side we've got a 3v1. Wolves versus an army, but he's going to buy some time with that Gladiator shield. He'll spin around to the best of his ability. Layers now in the fray as well to whittle down some of the health bars, and Wolves is still alive. Ultimate on cooldown and a great rotation in from Sheento that really punishes Hype Unit there, and Wolves' overextension, but he nearly got out.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just crazy watching this solo lane is 1v3, and like with Glad Shield, sometimes they come out of the fight with higher health than they had when they began, so.
Inbound tries to rotate in to protect some of this farm on the right-hand side, but Panitom already stripped away that blue buff. All the while in that rotation, Crimson went to the red buff there, and I guess that's one of the things about, you know, switching the laners too. Crimson clearly didn't follow that rotation. Instead, he hung around to farm, and Sheento came up big because of it.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if this is the case, but it could have been like that. Maybe Merlin had mid-priority where he got to push the wave way before Persephone was there, so maybe Persephone just didn't have the time to rotate over, or even if it did, he would probably have been late.
Man, you being nice to fellow mid laners, look at that. I couldn't rotate, man, I had
always
farm.
Perform farm over rotating, that's just how it is.
I've never seen you do that before, honestly. Like, it's never shown to me in any of the games I've casted.
Well, okay, perfect.
So that's the main thing. The only time it ever happened was jungle. You'd always go for your speed buff over everything else back in the day. Long time ago now. Right, and Harpies spawn in, and quickly taken down by Sanguine here. Experience and gold at 1,000, give or take, in favor of Sanguine at this moment in time. But it's still relatively even considering how quick the last 2 games have gone in terms of a snowball effect.
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace in this game for sure, because like I think at 4 or 5 minutes it was like a 2 or 3k goal lead already, so maybe we can get a little bit longer game, like a little bit more calculated game, if to say.
How long do you want to go?
All
60?
day, all day, baby.
Me and you all day?
Yeah.
This one game?
Yeah.
I'm not sure people will be happy because there's a lot of SSG fans waiting in the wings to watch the next set, along with Luminosity too. Inbound dashing in onto Panitom, but eats a fear no evil. Inbound still has the ultimate to turn this around though, and Panitom will leap away. Ronngyu in the right place at the right time, and it's Inbound being pressured and brought down, but it's allowed Oboronic to get to the backside with that sandstorm and do-do-do-do-do to help out Layers get the kill on Panitom. Oboronic still going in, and Rongyu's in trouble. He will fall down to Oboronic. Good individual play there, and support from his team.
Wow, was that a 3-for-2? That's a good fight for Hype for sure. Just this set dual lane, so good at these kind of small skirmishes early game.
And with that as well, I'm just going to keep an eye on the anti-heal coming through because there's nothing online just yet. No surprises though. Yeah. I mean, it's only 8 minutes in. we were in a, there was a spot in time where the mid laners looked at Divine Ruin very early on.
Yeah.
And it's a good item all around.
Yeah, it was before Doomorb got buffed at one point, and before that, no one really built Doomorb, and that the starting item for Mage, you usually started Mage Blessing straight into Divine, almost always, just so you can deal with all the self-heal coming out from Glad Shield, from solo laners, or like any healer really.
And we'll see how that works on as this goes on. Is a Cursed Ankh useful in this game at all?
I don't know, I've heard rumors that it procs on Glad Shield, so I guess if that's the case, it might always be good to have an Ankh on the team, but there's also so many relics you want as well. Most people want Blink these days, and also most people want Girdle these days for like the Figants when you want to start blowing up Figant and that kind of stuff, so...
That's true. Just raw damage and raw engage potential. Obviously, at the moment, 2v2 in the mid lane. Panitom getting those left-hand hop. He's now rotating towards the red buff in his own half. For a second, I thought he might pay some attention to the dual lane. But both these dual laners have got wards to Kingdom Come on that side. Inbound avoids the jump from Ronngyu, gets aggressive on Sheento and forces the flicker away. As Layers now rotates in and Panitom eats a ton of damage. The ultimate at the tail end from the Fear No Evil, though, will prevent it. But the ultimate out from Crimson came up huge. Trapped against the wall. Really caused a huge problem. Now Oboronic to the back, looking for an ultimate with a Kingslayer. Sheento still alive, but Netrioid gets a kill.
Wow, what a Persephone now to start that off. It's Jorm.
Still surrounding his Jorm right now, and Haddix will at least get a kill on Layers. The overextension from Hype Unit could end up being punished there. Wolves knocked up and pinned in place. The health bars of the rest of Sanguine just too low to really help out. Netrioid needs a couple of cooldowns, I'd say, to want to get involved. But a lot of damage was done to both teams there over a crazy fight in the jungle.
That got messy once Jormungandr joined that fight. It looked really good for Sanguine with the high unit ready with the Persephone ult coming down, locking down the butts. But then Jorm comes in and causes so much trouble.
Now, Wolves back of the rotation to the right-hand side. 5-4 on the table now. Builds coming along as swift as possible. Devour's Gauntlet's now online for Netrioid. He'll have a bit more sustain in this to match that of Oboronic in this laning phase. Obviously, the stacks take a little while to come online, and that's why sometimes you end up seeing Transcendences, but with Jing Wei, it's always a safe one.
Yeah, I think Transcendence on Jing, I think we never see it pretty much. I think some people who play Jing mid builds or something, but I think even on Jing mid, I prefer Divo gloves.
I agree. I just think the Intra sustain is really useful. Blue buff stripped away then by Hype Unit on the right-hand side as Haddix was just trying to defend on his own. But Inbound now rotating around the map and will help out with the top of coup. Coup situation is now 4-3. And so that's relatively even between the two at this stage. Oboronic, however, will get his own purple. He's level 11, matching that of Netrioid.
Yeah, something I want to see from this Merlin. I really want to see a defense item from Merlin here. If you think about it, he's going to get so dove. He's not going to take too much damage from Persephone unless he gets hit by a long-range ult or something. But he's gonna be the main target, right? Because Jing is really hard to focus for a Hype because he has an ult and the safety.
So Breastplate?
Yeah, Breastplate or even Jade Empress, but I think Breastplate, CDR is so good on Merlin, right? Yeah. So I definitely have Breastplate, and Jorm already have Jade Empress, so they don't need another aura.
Oboronic got himself in a bit of an awkward spot here, brings the clones into the fray, but the gust from Netrioid really did a ton more damage than bargained for there. Luckily, he slips the noose for now. Haddix needs to slip the noose quickly for Wolves, who nearly got a solo kill there. Up against his minor league counterpart, Panitom on the rotation, and Wolves may get a little bit greedy, I'd say here, because now Panitom may be able to pick up the kill with a Fear No Evil. Great little play there, a little bit overextended.
Got baited by the Jorm. That was really smart by Jorm. Yeah, after he jumped in on the second jump.
Inbound has to use the ult to get away from the Ragnarok and return the stun onto Ronngyu. And Crimson's there with the grasp of death to make sure he can't go anywhere else. A nice turnaround kill then, 1-for-1 across the map.
Yeah, when I go back to that Jorm, he goes in on the second jump, with Wolf start thinking, oh, when he jumps back, maybe I have time to catch up the distance, but then Bats is around the corner and gets the kill, so really smart play.
Sometimes it's one of those cases of like, you make the player go, you're crazy, what are you doing that for? Oh, you're not crazy, you were baiting me, I made the mistake. Netrioid got pressured there for a second by Layers, who used that blink, but to no avail. And Layers working on that Transcendence as well, something we've seen a lot more out of the junglers this year. Just the raw power it gives you is so impactful.
Yeah, I think especially now, because now that we have the new item Heartseeker, right? They changed Heartseeker, such a strong item right now, and you want a lot of power going with it, so you get the passive fully stacked up. And that Transcendence is perfect for that, right? It gives so much power. So I think this is a pretty much standard jungle build now. I'm not sure if Transcendence first item is standard. I think we usually see like a Crusher or Brawler that goes first into the Transcendence, into the Heartseeker, into the Blood Force, just thousands of power and like just one potential from carries.
There's definitely a little bit of an option to, based off how the game's going, I'd say, whether you go for the Transcendence earlier of like, well, this game's probably going to go late with how the early game's gone. Maybe I, you know, go with the Transcendence now, get it stacked up for when we get to the point where the team fights will be more important. And this Goal Fury, there will be important team fights because it's Hype Unit starting this one up at the moment. However, Sanguine are here in force, and with that recognition, Hype Unit drop the Fury and just aim for the Oracles to the best of their ability. Oh, and Panitom going in, however, won't hang around too long. He's trying to force out a couple of relics or an ultimate or two. Inbound going to ult onto Ronngyu there.
That was kind of weird.
Didn't end up working out.
Yeah, like when Fenrir has his leap up, he's never gonna get that stun off, so...
Crimson in mid getting pressured by Ronngyu, and Ronngyu bringing him back towards his teammates. Now the pressure is on, however, his inbound is low on mana and low on life. Up down out of Haddix is really causing problems for Crimson. He used the Aegis there. Panitom's Fear No Evil did end up doing some damage, but Crimson is now in passive form. Haddix gets credit for the kill at least, and the work towards Wolves is underway. Everyone has to be a little bit careful of the damage out of Crimson, but it's Wolves that has to turn tail. This is a great fight from Sanguine.
Yeah, I think it comes down to Inbound just using his ult for nothing there, right? He starts ulting a Fenrir that has his leap up, he's never gonna connect that, and after that you just get Fenrir pulled in, his team tries to help him and they lose the fight. So I feel like that bad fight, that's on Inbound.
Could be a bad fight on the left-hand side as well. Netrioid up against Oboronic, and both of them on low health. Layers is going to be there for clean-up crew, however. Great work from Netrioid taking on an assassin that is set. In the mid lane, however, good. Excalibur's Wrath coming into play from Wolves. He takes out Ronngyu. Sanguine got a little bit too aggressive for the tier 1 tower there and end up getting punished.
Yeah. Both these ADC players, or Hunters players, so impressive, I think. Actually, now it's Oboronic against Netrioid. Right? Oh yeah, I want to talk more about Crimson. Oboronic been good too, but okay, let's talk about Netrioid then.
Yeah.
He's just been so good this tournament. I think he's always been so good, and I think it's so important for the Sanguine squad as well. Just a super stable Hunter player, or like played mages too, but like always very consistent.
Yeah, been a consistent time, and that's one thing you really need from a Hunter in this season, because a lot of the time it really is going to be about farming, positioning right in the laning phase, and just focusing on getting to that late game stage where Hunters can really shine.
Yeah, you don't have to play in the duo lane and, oh, I'm going to crush this lane, I'm going to solo him 5 times, because like, usually we go in with that mindset, it usually ends up biting you in the...
In the Zapman.
In the Zapman. Yeah. So like just being patient and passive and just farming up, because you get so much farm in dual lane now, right? So just a great player.
And it's so much farm in dual lane because the supports aren't there. It's not like the experience overall really increased. Sure, there's that ghost minion at the start, but other than that, it's just being left alone and also getting the purple farm.
Yeah. In my opinion, dual lane right now is how mid lane should be.
How do you make that happen then?
I don't know.
Force everybody.
Maybe make Conquest 4-on-4 and just remove support, I suppose.
Whoa, 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 I'm a support man. You want to remove support players?
Just get rid of them.
You've angered like a Raw, Inbound, Polar Bear Mike's now looking for a job.
I'm pretty sure at least 95% of all the people out there agree with me anyway, so I don't really care.
Wow! What a statement to make! Pyromancer going to go down for Sanguine here at the moment, and Ronngyu, who was leaping around, gets punished by the Excalibur's Wrath. Inbound gets to the backside of the ultimate to Netrioid, and he actually airstrikes away, and in doing so gets the kill on Inbound, because the damage was a little bit too much for Inbound to take. Still though, Hype trying to bounce back and march on with aggression, and zone back Sanguine towards their tier 2. But the damage has already been done though, the Pyro is down. The good news is, they should be able to get a tier 1 in mid at least.
Yeah. 1-0, and guess who took the spill?
That's the life of a support. See, you want him out of the game, but that's where you get all your kills from.
I guess, yeah, true.
So how are you going to get kills if the support's not in the game anymore?
You don't. As long as you get to farm, you don't need to kill.
So you blame supports for you not getting farm, is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Classic. Classic laner, as always. These carries, they don't know the board. 9-9, and the rotation to the left-hand side now as Netrioid was just trying to fire him up. He sees Layers behind him, and after the gust and agility in a way, he doesn't have his airstrike, remember, but he did have his Aegis available.
Wow, nice
and a
bit.
good rotation in from Ronngyu will help him out. Obviously, that horrific emblem comes into play to slow them down, but Netrioid still needs some support. Inbound getting aggressive and has the backup there of Oboronic too.
Wow, they went super
pull in
then.
from the damage from Sheento is good, and so is the Fear No Evil. Oboronic ends up getting punished, but so does Ronngyu. The damage was just too much to handle.
Yeah, kind of lucky they got a return there, because I felt like they were going too deep. Again, Inbound sees someone that he knows Jing doesn't have ult up and no Aegis, and he just runs it down the back. I mean, he doesn't care.
And now with this, the pressure for Hype Unit is on this left-hand side. They're trying to chip away at towers. The goal differential is absolutely even in this one. And that is with Hype Unit getting a Fury earlier on too. And with this tower, they'll get a bit of an advantage potentially. But Haddix is over here. And look at where Netrioid is. He's switched up lanes, chipping down the towers, getting as much farm as possible. Exactly what you want from a Jing Wei.
This is smart, because now someone has to rotate over there. It's going to be the Persephone, but they also have to defend mid here, so really smart to split up the map, especially when you play in Jing, because he keeps back now. He got his Jing passive, flies back, and keeps farming again. He's getting really big on this Jing.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be important to know as well. The crit is starting to come online as well, so that's going to come into play for Netrioid a little bit more so. Still all even. I couldn't tell you who's going to win this one at the moment. I mean, on paper, I lean Sanguine just because of a traditional composition and less chance of mistakes happening.
Yeah, the only thing, I think Merlin's gonna struggle here. They have so much dive on that comp. Very little CC, if anything at all. But just this Merlin, if he doesn't get any physical defense, I feel like, and they can get him out of the fight early, I think that's a good win condition for Hype.
Credit where it's due for Sheento so far. Been involved in 7 kills and only had that 1 death. Continued into more penetration with how this build's gone. And he's pretty much top of the player damage at the moment. I don't talk about King Arthur damage. It's all fake. It's solo lane damage. It doesn't really count with how it is, especially against a Jormungandr.
Yeah, I guess you just slap that snake all day. Why are you laughing?
I don't know. I wasn't laughing. I was completely silent. I just didn't know what to respond to that, to be honest. It's not often I'm short of words, but in that moment I definitely was. 20 minutes, it's all about farm now. Fury's about to spawn on this left-hand side. It is an Oni Fury. And at this moment, it can be helpful to maybe look at a Fire Giant if you can get an Oni Fury, right? If you get that Oni Fury, there's a chance to get some pressure on the left to have the rotations through. But then again, there's a Jing Wei. So.
Yeah, sure, you can, but it's still kind of hard still. It's way too even, I feel. Even if you have Oni waves, I feel like you can pressure Fire and maybe look to win a fight over there, but just getting the Fire Giant, I don't think we're going to see quite yet unless one of these teams win a big team fight.
Sheento isn't really worried about going for a defensive item here. Looks like he's going for the Soul Reaver next, potentially. Oboronic, meanwhile, on this set, has opted for what looks like it's going to be a Magi's Cloak, which is very, very useful against the Fenrir.
Yeah, it is. I think it's too early, though. I feel like on the set, you want more damage so far.
Really?
Yeah.
So which item would you go to have gone next here in this instead of the Magi's?
Heartseeker, Crusher, Brawlers, any like flat pan damage.
Bit of a trade out in the jungle there. His position around the Oni Fury becomes a big thing. Wall placements are in favor of Hype Unit for the time being. Oboronic now getting back to the show and will take the purple buff. Could be a long one, this Zeros. We could be strapping in here.
Yeah, it's kind of looking like it. It's very defensive now. Like, this is usually how the games go if it's compared to the first 2 games where it's just a slaughter on both sides. So, yeah, a more traditional SMITE game here, I guess.
I guess it's more to do with the fact that they both know that if they lose this, they're out, right? So they have to make a decision and make the right calls at the right time. So you sometimes second guess yourself in these moments of like, maybe we do engage, maybe we just hold back and farm a little bit longer.
Yeah. I mean, a lot on the line here too, right? Like, you lose this, you're out. You win this, you still have a good chance of making the World Championship, and you definitely do not want to miss out on that. So
definitely. Losers bracket is what we're all about here today. We've got a couple more games with that losers bracket still to follow, funny enough. SSG versus Luminosity next up. One of them's going home already.
That is kind of crazy. 2 SPL teams against each other in an elimination game. It's just crazy. I thought the SPL teams would kind of dominate this tournament. Not dominate, but I thought they performed that. Obey's already out.
How crazy is that? Obey already done and dusted, so we're only down to 3 SPL teams. Another will drop today. We started with 6 teams today, still got them in at the moment. It goes to 3 after today, so we lose 50% of the field for just those 2 spots at the World Championships. Pyro being looked at by Hype Unit. Sanguine got a window there at that Fury, as you saw, just to take that Oni Fury. Because Hype Unit decided to just push out the waves instead and go back to farming.
Yeah, because Sanguine got this Oni Fury, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Hype Unit doesn't get Pyro on the other end either, so like, really good, looking really good for Sanguine here.
Yeah, a little bit worrisome for Hype Unit then, just to see how this goes. Ronngyu still getting aggressive though, trying to jump on towards Layers there. And the anti-heal is coming through thick and fast. Obviously you can see the Divine Room was picked up early by Sheento, but I also see that Contagion online for Haddix as well. Seeing a lot of this Contagion. It's a new item to the game in the mid-season.
This could be fire. They see set in duo lane. They have so much damage. They have a Jing Wei with crit and a Merlin for this fire. This fire is free, I think.
Inbound's trying to rotate in now because Ronngyu got aggressive on Wolves to slow them down. As you said, it's too little too late for Inbound. He's going to at least try and kill Haddix, who will use the ultimate to escape from the grasping death. And Panitom's there with a huge Fear No Evil to the back line. Wolves peels away the rest of Sanguine, but Sanguine are happy with the result. They get FG and they get out, or do they? Layers is still trying to punish them. They're hunting for Haddix if they can, but they won't get a window to find him.
That's a disaster. You mentioned it earlier, whoever gets Onifur can maybe look for fire, and that's exactly what happened. Set, I think it's a mistake sending Set over to dual lane, though. I think they should have sent the King Arthur over there that has the TP, so he can TP over like if they could start the fire.
It's a good point. I mean, the TPs is something that we've seen through the years be so useful for dealing with split push or split push themselves to apply some pressure. Bit of a drop ball then from Hype Unit, and now it's Sanguine with a power play situation. Speed buff's up over here. Layer's going to try and secure it, but got to be respectful at this moment in time and the damage that's going to be swinging his way. Everybody on Sanguine pretty much level 20 at this point, at least the most important ones, the carries of this team. The left-hand side, oBoronic still farming, not come back to base just yet.
They poked out the combat so low with just one Persephone one and one Camus ability, and it's almost dead. That was a lot of damage.
But I think that's what Hype Unit's really gone for here, is just raw damage output more than anything else.
I mean, it is, because there's not a lot of CC in the comp, so they have to be worried though, because as I said, you want to dive this Merlin, still no physical defense, but he has a lot of damage in his build, and even if you do dive the Merlin and kill him, he's gonna deal so much damage before he dies. And then you have to start worrying about this Jing Wei. She's about to get her second crit item online now.
Could be one of the reasons why Sanguine are taking this relatively slow, even though they have the Fire Giant, is the relic situation. Panitom's beads and Sheento's beads both on cooldown for the exact same time. You can see how much the CC was going to cause them a problem moments ago. So in a minute's time, we'll probably see them get a little bit more aggressive. For now, they'll just farm up and take whatever free options they can. And this is the free option on the left-hand side for the time being.
That's actually crazy. Those beats timers are perfectly synced. They must have that's some synergy right there.
That's real synergy, right? If your mid laner pops beads, you pop beads too. Just to be sure. Tier 2.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that.
I was waiting to say yeah afterwards. And you kind of did. Ronngyu jumping in and looks to get the ultimate out of Inbound and does a very good job of that. Haddix with the World Serpent. Fear no evil is causing problems too. Crimson has to flourish away, but on the front side, Wolves is tanking up a storm. Well, then there's an arcane storm on the ground, so we can't stay around there too much longer. Tier 2 falls, Sanguine walk away.
Yeah, good for Hype though, defending, and no one's dying, so real good defense. If Sanguine didn't have fire, there's Hype might commit to that fight and even win it. So not looking too bad for Hype yet.
Definitely seems to be the case of when Inbound has gone for this amateur roster. This Fenrir pick from Ronngyu has really been there to try and force out these amateur ults. Haddix getting aggressed on still. They're trying to run down a Jormungandr, but it's a Jormungandr.
Oh, that's really
and now
bad.
Netrioid's back with a Jing Wei, but in comes oBoronic to try and turn it around. Not enough to get a kill this time, though. He's getting lower and lower, and now he's going to get turned on himself. The skewer came through. No kills here to be found.
Oh,
Sanguine get 3 kills. This could be a Phoenix.
Disaster for Hype. Three man dead for so long. This is definitely a Phoenix, if not more.
No, and now Crimson in trouble. Ronngyu body blocks that grasp. Sheento's taking a ton of damage from it, though. Based off the fact he was just pinned in place with the plants as well. That could actually just slow down Sanguine enough. Man, Persephone causes problems.
Yeah, she does. Still on the losing end of this game, though, but definitely not defending this Phoenix with the Persephone out being down. Maybe they, I don't know, are they gonna go for the end? Nah.
Don't know if they can really. They will get a middle Phoenix, however. And now this left-hand wave is pushed up pretty far already, so they've still got an option here. oBoronic and Wolves dead for another 15 or so seconds. As Inbound tries his own Panitom away. Rongyu's looking for a Ragnarok, gets Layers. Layers forced to beat. I don't think he realized he was in that much danger of it. And now uses the ultimate too. Ronngyu took a ton of damage, has to fall back to regen. Fire Giant buff wears off. Fear no evil comes back up, and Inbound dies again. Phoenix on the left goes down as Haddix to the back line.
That's a good Jormungandr, just forcing them out. 2 Phoenixes. Oh, this is really good for Sanguine, because those 2 Phoenixes are the worst Phoenixes for Hype Unit to have down. It's going to be pretty much impossible to find this next Fire Giant now. And this is like the perfect timing to get the Phoenixes too, right?
Yeah.
Because they can get this Fire Giant, and when they start sieging this right Phoenix, those Phoenixes, the left and mid Phoenix, won't even be close to respawning. So it's going to be a super hard defense for Hype.
Remember, this winner goes on and to play later on today, just so you all know as well, in the last set of the day. The winner of this goes on to face either LG or Space Station Gaming. Whoever wins that set in set 2, they'll both face off in set 4. The loser goes home, and Hype Unit are looking like they may be watching from home with how this is looking right now. This LATAM team, though, Zeros, you've been around a long time just like me, but they've been here through every single year, always putting on a show from LATAM.
Yeah, like performing so well as well, but then again, it's hard for them, right? Because like they're in LATAM, they're not getting the same kind of practice that the SPL teams does, right? But like still coming up and playing at this level is just super impressive.
You can see people talking about his Crimson forced to beat away from Ronngyu, who does a good job of the Unchanged and the Ragnarok. Again, inbound to the backside though, causes a problem. Grasp used by Crimson, but body block pretty much by Haddix there. Not the target you're really after, as Wolves gets whittled down by Netrioid, who's starting to swing for the heavens. As I say that, Haddix gets the tail end of a kill on Layers, and now oBoronic falls. This could be it. This could be over. LATAM, vamos Sanguine!
Yeah, this is looking rough. I think they just go straight for the end before the fire. I saw a pretty funny thing there. Jorm Basics kills Persephone out like her cage pretty fast.
Yeah, it does. It's one of those little, all those ones like even Cabrakan walls, the same sort of thing. Man, Jormungandr's OP, isn't he? Giant worm.
They're gonna be a hell of a defensor if they can be able to hold this, because there's two.
How do you do it, Ziz?
I don't know. There's 2 fire waves coming in on the same time. It's gonna be really hard. I don't know if Persephone has enough damage to take 5 members down here.
Crimson jumps in the back line, doesn't have beads, has to flourish back away. Wolves trying to keep Netrioid busy, but Panitom's Fear No Weaver's going to separate the team. And in goes Sanguine! They're looking to advance! They're looking to find the win and take down Hype Unit! I'm sorry, console, but your run will end here. It's the minor league that march on.
Wow, reverse sweep from Sanguine. Impressive. After the first game, Absolute got stomped by Hype Unit, right? But then I guess the second game they stomped Hype in return, so but still, reverse sweeping the set, super impressive stuff.
But they seemed to work out where the equation was going wrong. It really came down to that Thor pick, as well as the Hercules that were causing them so many problems in game 1. Game 2, you saw them muster up the courage to take Thor themselves there and turn it around. Now, obviously, Hype Unit in that situation, they were looking to try and make something happen. Ryan mentioned on the desk regarding you have these closet picks that you might want to bring out. You've not surprised that a little bit more, but it doesn't really happen. How do you like look at those situations?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just rough. I feel like this just comes down to like Inbound, really good on the Cirque and the Hercules, does so much in the early game, but like he doesn't get those gods, and then like they just doesn't look like the same team when he doesn't get the early pressure.
Well, with that, Hype Unit end up falling down, but congratulations to Sanguine. They march on again. They'll play a little bit later on today. We'll get a little chat with them after this short break.
And Sanguine go ahead and take this one. 3 games, and 2 of them go the way of the minor league team. Fantastic, dominant, a lot of words you could attribute to this one. Ryan, I'll ask you, what is the one word that you would choose here?
One word to choose Sanguine's set today. I think I would have to go with adjustment. They made a good adjustment in this set, because Hype Unit looked unbeatable in game number 1, and then as the set continued, it felt like Sanguine got more and more comfortable. And look, that game number 3, Hype Unit, I know the draft and the way they played it looks a little bit weird. I think at some point you have to understand that these guys have spent weeks and weeks preparing for this, feeling like they've got their strategies in line, taking the set away from Layers, hindsight being 2020, a mistake.
Sure.
But I think that you have to trust your own team and understand that you've worked to this point and trust your evaluation that this is going to be the way to do it. I thought Crimson played really well in the Persephone. I just don't think that putting the set in the hands of oBoronic was the call. Give that to Layers. It's looked like his second best god this week. put oBoronic on something else, and I think that they may have found some more success. But honestly, even through that, they had a good chance to win this game.
Yep.
A series of bad decisions really costs them, though. They give up the Oni Fury in the left-hand side around 20 minutes or so, and then Sanguine just rotate over towards the Fire Giant side. They do Pyro, they do Fire Giant, and Hype Unit was nowhere to be seen until after Fire Giant went down. I don't know what happened in the comms in that moment. I don't know if they really felt like they couldn't take the fight for some reason. They were only down about 1,000 to 2,000 gold at the time. I think that sequence is going to haunt this team.
I agree. I think it's been questionable, the decision-making here for Hype Unit. This third game certainly comes up as well, but throughout the tournament, they've made some iffy decisions. We're going to look at that Fire Giant. We're going to watch that VOD. We are going to see, like you said, I think it was 2,000-3,000 gold at most. You can absolutely take that fight. That said, Sanguine, I think, did the have the deeper playbook. They come out and they understand the X's and O's and are able to make the adjustments. That's what I said, just well stated. I think that is absolutely what went on here. In a best of one scenario, if we watch these guys play 3 single game sets today, tomorrow, and the day after, Hype Unit might win all 3 of those games. But in a crunch time MOBA scenario where you have to be the best in a series of games, Sanguine just come out on top with their brain.
They definitely have that experience together, and I think that's a really big part of that. That's kind of what I led the set with, is that this is a really good team. They work really well as a unit, and I think that was shown here today. A lot of credit to their coach, Oxy, for making a big adjustment in picks and bans. I think their Game 1 picks and bans were borderline inexcusably bad, but Games 2 and 3, they did a much better job. I think Hype Unit put themselves in a position to win the set in that Game 3 with that draft. I don't know. I just keep going back to Layers has looked like your hard carry. You give him he's played on the Thor and the set. You get the opportunity to get the set, and you give it over to oBoronic. I don't know. It's a tough call because you either live with the regret that you feel like, okay, if we would have gone with this weird draft that we've been practicing, it would have worked, or you live with this, which is we took the ball away from our playmaker.
Either way, the result is the same. Coaches come through in the clutch, and Sanguine wind up taking it, standing by as Ronngyu and solo laner Haddix.
The 2 victors from that series went all 3 games. Boys, congratulations first of all on the win. I want to take you back to Game 1. That was a rough game to be in Game 1. What was the mentality for Game 2 looking like? What was the game plan going into Game 2 to turn it around?
I think we didn't expect Hype Unit to play that well because we used to scream them a lot, and they weren't like that. They played super aggressive. They were warding a lot. They were going on Sheento because we were like, okay, let Sheento farm and she's gonna be okay. But they were just ulting Sheento and we were like, okay, what are we doing now? So we just changed our picks and our bans because we realized that they only played like 2 gods. So we got the game, I guess.
So in the second and third game, you banned Circuit and Hercules just from Inbound. Do you think that was enough to like shut him down so you could get the wins?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like their team kind of runs off of having Inbound create space for their team when like a really aggressive support. He doesn't really tend to play like the support playstyle where you sit back and peel. He kind of opens up the team fight.
Talking a little bit about aggressive supports, Ronngyu. That last game, you played the Fenrir, and it seemed like you were trying to force Inbound to use that Amaterasu as soon as possible in those occasions. Was that the game plan?
Yeah, pretty much, because I couldn't ult like the set because he has matches. I was just ulting Inbound because if he didn't ult on my backline, I'm fine because I'm not going to use my ult for anything. So I was just taking the trade or just ulting, like forcing beats if I can, but I didn't know that I could like get beats, so I just was ulting the Amaterasu, and he was ulting.
Alex, one last question for you as well. I mean, we've had a lot of fans in chat that are screaming your name at the moment. Like, how do you feel? How do you feel your performance has been this week? What's it like to be here?
I mean, it's great to be at LAN. I feel like a couple of games have been a little bit rough, but overall, yeah, I like being Haddix.
Final question for you both. Later on today, you're going to have to either face off against Luminosity or Space Station Gaming. Who do you want to fight?
I want to face SLG because we already beat SG, so just want to try another SPL team.
Hell yeah. What about you, Haddix?
I want to take SSG. I want to put them in the losers bracket and then take them out.
Oof. All right, well, congratulations on the victory today. We'll see you a little bit later on.